Please bear with me, and we're going to go ahead and get started in just a couple of minutes. All right, for my people joining me on Facebook Live, if you have a question, you can call in as well, 857-232-0158. I repeat, 857-232-0158. And the access code that you need to use is 870-864-POUND. 870-864-POUND is the access code. Okay, so just a couple of events before I go ahead and start taking the calls. A couple of announcements. Number one, I will be speaking in Baltimore, Maryland, the first day of Kwanzaa. Baltimore, Maryland, this coming Monday, January the 26th. Umoja, Unity, the first principle of Kwanzaa. We will be at the Downtown Cultural Arts Center in Baltimore, 401 North Howard Street. I repeat, 401 North Howard Street in Baltimore, Maryland. Tickets at Prince of Pan-Africanism.eventbrite.com. Prince of Pan-Africanism.eventbrite.com. You can also go to my website, drumarjohnson.com, and you can actually click the Eventbrite link from my website. Or if you simply need the flyer or the link, you can text me for that, 215-989-9858, 215-989-9858. Wednesday, I will be in Jacksonville, Florida for the first time in 5 years. Wednesday, December the 28th, I will be in Jacksonville, Florida for the first time in 5 years. Okay, listen up. My people who are on the phone, I need you to mute your call. Somebody just came into my call with a bunch of background noise. Mute your phone, please. Okay, so again, Wednesday, December the 28th, Jacksonville, Florida. I will be at the Regency Square Mall's Event Planning Center. Jacksonville, Florida, Wednesday, December the 28th at the Regency Square Mall Event Planning Center. That's a 6 to 9 p.m. program. Doors open up at 4. And then it's back to Motown, Detroit, Michigan, Friday, December the 30th. I repeat, Detroit, Michigan, the 5th day of Kwanzaa, Friday, December the 30th, 6 to 9, doors open up at 4. We will be at the Greater New Mount Moriah Baptist Church, the Greater New Mount Moriah Baptist Church, 586 Owen Street. And then we're going to end Kwanzaa off in no better place than Hotlanta, Georgia. We're going to be in the Big A, King of the South, Hotlanta, Georgia, on Sunday, January the 1st, New Year's Day, the final day of Kwanzaa, first day of the New Year. Sunday, January the 1st, Shrine of the Black Madonna on Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard. That event is going to sell out probably in the next couple days. Detroit is edging up as well. So if you plan on coming to see Dr. Umar Johnson in Detroit, Atlanta, Baltimore, you need to get your tickets now because those tickets are going very, very quickly. Jacksonville is also moving, but these other three are big-time Dr. Umar Johnson cities. Baltimore, Atlanta, Detroit, those are big-time Dr. Umar Johnson cities. I get a lot of love and support from the brothers and sisters there. So if you plan on coming, get your tickets now. I don't want to see you at the door screaming and shouting and begging. Okay, this event has been up on Eventbrite for a couple of weeks now. No excuses. I'm tired every time my events sell out, people whining at the door when you had weeks to buy your ticket. Blame nobody but yourself. I'm being respectful, family, but you know the Eventbrite link. I've been using it for years. Okay, you know the crowds that I bring. You need to get your tickets now. All right. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead to the phone calls. Good Garvey Day to everybody. Good Garvey Day to everybody. Is there someone with a question to get us started? And please remember to state the city that you're calling from. Is there someone with a question? Yes, ma'am. Peace and love, sister. Where you calling from? Louisiana. What part of Louisiana? Okay, is that Baton Rouge? Is that New Orleans? Okay, okay. No problem. Go right ahead.
about high functioning autism, and I want to know, have you dealt with it a lot? Do you deal with it a lot? What is your view on diagnosis, especially in the black community, black girls especially? Right now, I'm dealing with the fact that I'm just discovering I have Asperger's syndrome at 27 years old. So it's something I've been dealing with for a long time, and I realized that a lot of black kids get misdiagnosed with other mood disorders. When they, especially with black girls, it's kind of hard to tell when someone is high functioning. I actually know somebody who was a decorated veteran, and she didn't find out she had Asperger's until 15 years ago when her son was diagnosed. But I just want to know what you think about it. I have several symptoms here listed, and I wonder if any other parents may wonder if the kids have autism, or like me, they'd be too afraid to come forward. I have two brothers who are autistic. One speaks, one doesn't. And so seeing them growing up, it kind of made me afraid to admit if anything was similarly, if I was dealing with anything similar. It's kind of hard for me to admit or come to terms to, but it's been 6 years since I had my son when it first came to my attention, and now I'm just kind of progressed to the point where I realize I do have it.
Will do. All right. Autism. For adults, if you've gotten this far with your autism, then I would assume that it is most definitely a high-functioning autism.
Yes.
So the question becomes, as an adult with autism, how are you most affected by it? Because you're clearly functional. So where is it impeding your life or functionality? Where is it affecting you?
Definitely socially and communicatively. That would be number one. Just it's difficult for me to do things like network or be in groups or even maybe sit with classmates. When I was in college and high school and elementary school, make friends. It's just never been something I was good at. I have a twin sister, and she's always been very popular, where I've always been the one everybody made fun of, or, so I've dealt with it in that way. And there's a lot of things. I guess it's still a bit difficult for me to talk about, but, I've read over certain symptoms. I'm not sure if you want me to read any of them over the line.
Nah, I know the symptoms. I know the symptoms.
Right. And so, it's definitely mostly social. Lately, I was raised in a foster care system. So it kind of, I think I just feel like I kind of slipped through the cracks. Like nobody was paying attention to me that much, and I grew up with the same foster family for years. And so it's just like, especially with people with high functioning autism, I know family and friends don't typically notice. It's mostly when they get out in front of strangers and stuff like that. So, I deal with that. And I was, anger, meltdowns and stuff like that. So, and I just recently, my mom, she had 5 children. All of them were placed in foster care. I'm the eldest. And she has some kind of mental thing where she wasn't able to raise any of her kids, and I'm trying to help her understand that maybe that mental thing she's been having all this time is Asperger's or autism. So she has 2 sons with it, for sure. And my sister, I don't know, I've been on the line before. I don't know if I ever talked to you about my sister, but she is 20 now. And at 12 to 13 years old, she was diagnosed with bipolar schizophrenia. And it is now that she's 20 years old and was hospitalized for whatever reason, having a tantrum, that they are finally just saying, okay, well, we think Deanna has autism. That's my little sister's name. And it's been years. And I actually literally right before that, I talked to my foster mom a week before that and told her that I think my little sister has autism. And, she was in the hospital at that time. And when she was released, they're saying now that she thinks she has autism. But the problem is she's been on meds for bipolar schizophrenia for all these years. And so it has messed her up a lot. Gaining super amount of weight, borderline diabetic because of gaining the weight so fast, all kind of stuff. So, and none of the medicine never really helped her. She still has been the same as she's been since 6 years old. Probably younger, as young as I can remember, you know?
Let me say this.
So,
What
I
I
just
think.
realized a lot of girls get misdiagnosed young, and it's, you know, with boys, it's I don't know, I think it's because maybe it's something to do with our estrogen, but we appear to be more normal as girls than boys with any autism or Asperger's or whatever, some kind of way. And I babysit a lot of people with Asperger's and autism growing up because my foster mom took them in a lot. And so I've been around them a lot. And, you know, it's just something that's just been hard for me to come to terms with when I realized I had it.
Okay, let me jump in here. Okay, first off, with the new DSM-5, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, there is no longer a separate Asperger's disorder. Okay, they removed that.
Yeah, I did read that, but I wasn't clear on what they meant. Like,
right. Let me finish. Okay, there is no more of an Asperger's. It's all autism. And the reason that was done is because a lot of scientists, researchers felt that since Asperger's was on the spectrum of autism, there really was no need to separate it out. So they no longer separate it out. So it's just autism now. But for you, because autism is a neurological disorder that has behavioral manifestations and behavioral symptoms, what I think you're going to need at this point is you're going to need a therapist, particularly someone who's expert in behavioral therapy, who are probably going to put you through a series of immersion and exposure techniques. Because with autism, you know, there's that social anxiety, as you said, networking, meeting people, initiating contact. So that is a behavioral issue because we got to get you to do something. Right. So the behavioral therapist will basically gradually help you overcome your aversion and anxiety to social contact by slowly having you initiate contact in settings and with people whom you're normally apprehensive about. So, you know, for example, if I'm working with a kid who has social anxiety, and I've had a kid like this in Chester, Pennsylvania. And so what we would do, or what I would do, is I would walk the kid. His social anxiety was so great that he couldn't even walk into the high school. This is how bad it was for him. So what we had to do was walk him out of his house and start walking to school. And when we get about 10 blocks from the school, his anxiety would start up. Right there at that point where his anxiety would begin to trigger, we would talk. We would almost have therapy right there outside because I had to walk him through those symptoms so he can see how irrational they were, put him through certain behavioral breathing techniques and things like that. Basically, they get you comfortable at every stage of anxiety as they move you closer to the anxiety triggering stimulus. So basically, he was able to go, 10 blocks away from the school before the anxiety kick. And then once we got him comfortable, he could go 8 blocks, and then 5, and then 4, and then we get him all the way up to the school door. And then for a couple of weeks, we only get up to the school door until he gets comfortable enough. Then we go in the school door. And so that's how they're going to do with you. They're going to slowly immerse you into those things, and to the point where your brain is no longer anxious about it because it's used to doing it. There's a lot of wisdom in the quote that the best way to overcome fear is to face that thing that causes the fear. Also, there's a lot of wisdom in the quote that says, the more times you do something, the less fearful you are of it. Very true. And immersion therapy is based on that rationale. Even with myself, I had a fear of flying airplanes. Up until I began flying around the country regularly in 2010, the only places I've flown was to go and speak for the Garvey movement. I flew to Atlanta, I flew to North Carolina, and a couple other places. First time I got on a plane was my senior high school trip when we went to Disneyland. And so that was it. So when I started getting all these requests to speak back in 2010, nationally and internationally, that was a very traumatic period for me because I'm getting on all these flights and I'm not used to this, and the plane is jumping, turbulence. It was tough. And then almost without me even knowing it, I would say by the beginning of 2012, so it took me the whole 2011, by the beginning of 2012, that immersion had worked for me. And so now I get on the plane and it's second nature. Now I still get bothered by turbulence, okay,
Right.
but I'm no longer as apprehensive about flying, because the more you do something, the less apprehensive your brain is about it. In other words, repetition and exposure wears down fear. Repetition, and it's like somebody goes into war and they don't even want to pull that trigger. But after being forced to do it, after a while, I mean, that first couple months of fighting, it may be tough, but before you know it, it don't even bother them no more. You see, so the father of extinction is exposure. So what you can do, sis, is you can text me, and I'll give you my number, and I'll text you the name and phone number. Actually, I can give it to you now for the Association of Black. Say that again. I'm going to give you the name and.
I was pulling up my computer. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm gonna give you the name and phone number for the Association of Black Psychologists, and you can call them and you can ask them for a referral for a behavior therapist in your area. Okay. And all right, the phone number is 301 449 3082. 301 449 3082. And the email.
You find that it's hard for adults to get diagnosed with Asperger's? I'm sorry.
No, this is the Association of Black Psychologists. So any psychological issue, you're going to call them to get a referral for a psychologist in your area who can assist you with treatment for adults with autism. Okay. The email address is info, info at absci.org. info at A for association.
I'm
B.
sorry, I missed that. At what now?
At A, the letter A, the letter B, the letter P, the letter S, the letter I. Info at absci.org. ABSci is the abbreviation for the Association of Black Psychologists.
.org, you said?
Yes, ma'am. .org.
Okay, then. Well, I definitely appreciate it. You said you had a number to text to?
My number is 215-989-9858. 215-989-9858. Yes, ma'am.
And I'm supposed to get online today because of me just finding out this is an adult, I just really I hope that any black people or black moms, fathers who wondering what's going on with their child, the dissociative or whatever, it may not be that bipolar, it may not be that ADHD, it may not be just depression, I think that it just gets missed, like I said, especially in girls. So, and I think it's important that if a lot of black kids do have this disorder and they're getting misdiagnosed and having to be forced on medication, it affects them a lot, especially probably somebody with Asperger's. My little sister is still badly affected.
Got you. Yeah, no problem. So,
I just hope that other people can learn from it.
Yes. Oh, appreciate that. So, get in contact with them and see if they get your referral. If you're not successful with them, then get back in contact with me.
I will.
Okay.
I will.
Thank you, sis. Thanks for the call.
Thank you.
No problem. Is there another question on the call this morning?
Yes, Dr. Umar.
Okay, let me take the brother. Go ahead, good brother. Where you calling from?
I'm calling from Lexington, Kentucky.
Yes, sir.
You was just down here in September.
Yes, Kentucky State.
Didn't get a chance to see you, but I tried. It was awesome.
Thank
you.
you.
Come to the city, man.
Thank you, my brother. Go right ahead.
Appreciate it, and I respect you so much.
Appreciate that.
So I'm gonna get to my question here. It's kind of a deep question, but what role did Martin Luther King have in breaking down the black-owned businesses, the black, just the whole black concept? He came in and he wanted to integrate everything and make everything black and white. But now it seems like everybody wants to go to the black-owned, back to the black-owned business. So what role did he play, and was he playing it?
Okay, first I'm going to answer the question, but I want to clarify that this Tuesday morning call is about children. It's about answering education and mental health questions for our children. I'm going to answer this question because you may not have known that, but for everyone else, Tuesday morning is about the children. So we want to keep the questions on our babies. They often get overlooked. They don't get enough attention as it is. So I want to keep Tuesday morning about the children. And that's no offense to you, my brother, because you may not have known that this is only about helping parents help their children. But let me answer that question. The answer to that question for me is that the good doctor, Martin Luther King Jr., played no role in the destruction of black financial independence. Dr. King was assassinated on April the 4th, 1968. Integration had not come. So if he was gone before integration had came, he could not be responsible for integration. The Civil Rights Bill, all it did was eliminate desegregation in publicly funded institutions and accommodations. That's it. There has never been a law in America, ever, that forced black people to give up their hospitals. There has never been a law to force black people to give up their schools. There has never been a law to force black people to give up their business. There has never been a law that forced black people to give up their independent communities. We did that willingly. Dr. King cannot be blamed for it because he was already dead. Integration did not take full swing until the early 70s. And in many respects, it still hasn't taken full swing. Most black kids go to 87% segregated schools. Most black people still live in 87% segregated residential areas. Okay? Capital and wealth is almost exclusively still dominated by non-Africans. We own less than 1% of America's wealth. So even to this day, there hasn't been any true integration. So there definitely wasn't none by 1970, after King being murdered in 68. So for me, I think black people often use Dr. King as a scapegoat for their own love and addiction to white folks. Okay? We did not have to send our kids into those schools. We wanted to send them into those schools. We did not have to give up our independent businesses and hospitals. We chose to. All the black banks we used to have back then, we chose to give them up. Now, mind you, you had places like Rosewood, in Charleston, in Wilmington, okay, in places like Tulsa that were destroyed by overt white power with the help of the United States government. But even in those cases, many times, those brothers and sisters returned to those communities to rebuild them. And it was their children and grandchildren who did not believe in black independence. It was their children and grandchildren who thirsted for white acceptance. It was their children and grandchildren who wanted to be a part of the illusion of inclusion, who voluntarily gave up independent black communities so they could have an opportunity to be pat on the head by white folks. So Dr. King is not to be blamed. No one man can do that. Besides, he was already dead before the full effects of so-called integration took place. We did that. See, when people say segregation was better, when people say we need to go back to segregation, the only issue I have with that, we did do better when we were segregated. But the question is, why did we do better when we were segregated? The reason we did better when we were segregated is because the white folk did not allow us to participate in the political and economic reality of these United States. You were not allowed. You were not given any access. So you had no choice but to work with each other. And for anyone to say that Donald Trump needs to put us back in segregation in order for us to work together, that's a goddamn shame. For your enemy to have to force you to work with each other, you need your enemy to put you back in segregation so you can do what is right for yourself. That is a goddamn shame. Nobody's enemy should have to make them do what is right for them. And so when people say they should have left us in segregation, what we are saying is we need white folks. We need white folks to put in place structure, discipline, order, and segregation to force black people to work with other black people. If your enemy has any role in your freedom, if your enemy has any role in your liberty, if it is your enemy that is necessary to deliver you from yourself, then you still a goddamn slave. You still a slave. So to answer your question, my good brother, Dr. King played no role. Integration didn't come until after Dr. King was gone.
I still say that's the illusion of inclusion, and I think that he had a lot to do with that.
I don't think so, but we can agree to disagree on that.
I appreciate your answer on that, Dr. Umar. Was a very enlightening answer. One question that I do have, I have a 14-year-old son,
Okay.
and one question I wanted to ask is, how do I separate? I tell him that this rap music and these rap videos and everything that he sees all the time is all strictly entertainment, just like a movie. But it's hard for me to get through to him that it's just like a movie when he sees certain things happening in his community with other black men who drive these fancy cars, who wear these fancy shoes, who have these nice necklaces. But what I try to tell him is it's all entertainment. So he's like, well, why does this guy have it? He's not an entertainer. So I'm trying to get him to understand that all this stuff that he sees on TV with these rappers and popping bottles and doing all this stuff, it's all about entertainment, but I can't drive that point home to him. And that's my question.
Where do y'all live at? Where do y'all live at, my brother? What city?
We live in Lexington, Kentucky.
That's right. I'm sorry. You told me that already. Okay. Well, he's 14. You might want to consider two-part answer. Number one, you might want to consider sitting him on my unapologetically African Black College and Consciousness tour that we'll be hosting out of Atlanta this year, January 28th to July the 12th, 14 days and 14 nights with the Prince of Pan-Africanism. So we're going to hit up a lot of the colleges in the South and a lot of significant black landmarks as it relates to our history and struggle. I'll definitely be able to drive the point home. But on top of that, it might be time to get him a good book on wealth so he can understand the truth about hip-hop. And there's even been some books written about hip-hop in particular that talks about the wealth gap within hip-hop and how hip-hop is actually akin to sharecropping. Now, in the sports world, I would have him read $40 Million Slaves. You know, but we're dealing with entertainment, and there's a couple titles out there, but none of them are coming to my head right now. But I would get him a good book on the true background of hip-hop. And a lot of rappers have written about hip-hop, too. So it might be time to get him some of those books that was written by some of the rappers who really did not end on their feet the way that they thought that they would. But I think also that it would be a good idea to have a conversation with him about values. Now is the time to impress upon him values. We don't value money. It's about values. He may like it, but it's important that he don't value it. And the problem with black youth is they're not just attracted to the cars. They're not just attracted to the Air Jordans. They value them. They put a priority on that stuff. They need it in order to feel important. They need it in order to validate their lives. That's when it becomes a problem. I don't have a problem with my child liking video games, but I have a problem with him being so addicted to the video game that the video game is necessary and essential in order for him to function. That's a problem. You like the Air Jordan sneaker? No problem. Okay? But I don't want you to be so enamored with Air Jordan, so addicted to the brand that you need it in order to feel sufficient. Because once you come to that level, now white corporate capitalism is dictating your self-esteem, and we cannot have that. All right. Okay, there's someone. Go ahead, my brother. No problem. Appreciate that. And I should be coming back to Louisville soon, my brother. Louisville, Kentucky, probably for Black History Month. So stay tuned on that.
I'll follow your page. I'll keep watching for you.
Got you. Also, someone has the call on speaker, and I can hear myself through your phone. So please, no speaker. Okay, if you got a speaker, put it on mute or something. But I'm hearing myself through the phone, and that should not be taking place. So now we want to get back to the children. Do we have another question on the call about children?
Hello? Yes, Peace, Dr. Johnson.
Yes, ma'am. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Bloomfield, New Jersey or Newark, New Jersey. I do most of my living in Newark. You actually recommended that I put my 5-year-old, well, he's now 5, in a STEP program in Newark, and I just want to say thank you for that.
Okay.
It has made a big difference in what I'm seeing. My question today has to do with him being in school. This is his kindergarten year. He's a very high energy 5-year-old Leo boy, and he play fights often, which is, I'm not saying that it's okay for you to put your hands on people, but just last week I got 2 messages or 2 written notes from school. The first one saying that, your son slapped someone, and the second one saying your son was punching someone. So my question is, I'm trying to figure out if my thought process is on the right place. Number one, I know I need to address him putting his hands on someone, whether you're playing or not. But I'm trying to figure out what language I need to be aware of when I'm starting to get notes home from school. When I ask him what's happening, he's saying that he was playing. He was just playing, and he didn't get spoken to about that. They're basically just asking him, did you punch someone? Did you, whatever. And I'm trying to prevent this from escalating somewhere and develop a good relationship with the public school system that I have to deal with right now. And if you could give me any advice on that or trying to work with him, that would be great.
Okay. He's 5. We have to eliminate him from putting his hands on other children. Play fighting is not acceptable anymore. In my opinion, play fighting, when I grew up, we used to play fight, but we didn't have the type of black on black violence we got right now. It was there. But see, this is on steroids. See, back when I was growing up, the 80s, the crack had just hit. And see, when that crack came in, because we already had gangs. We had the street culture. But back then, when there was a gang war, you came to the gang war with brass knuckles. You came to the gang war with a bat. You came to the gang war with a chain. You came to the gang war with a pipe. You came to the gang war with a brick. Okay, so I'm from North Philadelphia. So my parents' generation, we had the gangs. West Philly had the gangs and North Philly had the gangs. We had the Moon Gang, North Street, Diamond Street Gang. They had gangs and people got killed occasionally. That's correct. But it was through, I want to say, through manual means. Okay, maybe one person had a gun. There normally was one person in the gang, or maybe 2, who actually had a gun. Everybody else has silent weapons. But when the crack came in, that's when the National Rifle Association and the gun producing industry began to target inner cities in order to offload a lot of the excess weapons that they did not sell during the year. And so with the drug culture came the gun culture. Prior to crack, you did not have everybody in the gang with a gun. Now everybody got a gun, in a gang or not. That was not the case in the 60s and 70s. You may have had 1 or 2 people in the gang that had a gun. Now everybody got a gun. So I'm saying all that to say that play fighting is over. 1 out of every 4 black men will be murdered in his lifetime by his 35th birthday by another black male. There could be no more play fighting. That's over. So what you have to do is you got to go through the principles of behavioral modification, rewards and consequences. When he play fights, what is the consequence at home? Remember, behavior don't change until you change it. And he will not be motivated to change his behavior until you give him an offer he cannot refuse. That's what behavioral change is all about. It's about giving our children offers that they cannot refuse. If you do this, this is what's going to happen. And it got to be something that he don't want no part of. So the consequences have to be effective. Now, because he's so young, the basic consequence you have to use, as well as the basic reward for a 5-year-old, is attention. For a 5-year-old, attention is more important than breathing. For a 5-year-old, his mommy's attention is more important than eating. For a 5-year-old, his mommy's attention is more important than sleep. Okay, you're more important to him than breathing, eating, or sleeping. So when he messes up, he gets deprived of your attention. That means what? You come home after school, you're going to do your homework, I'm going to check it, we're going to have a nice little 10-minute conversation, we're going to eat dinner, and you're going to bed early. I don't care if the sun's still up. You will be in that bed as soon as you're done your homework and as soon as you're done eating. If that means 5 o'clock bed, so be it. What you have to do is you have to crush him with boredom. Kill him with boredom. The worst thing you could do to a 5-year-old boy is bore him to death. Take his toys, TV, video game, take everything out that room. It'll be a bare room, nothing in it he can use to play with. You have to make sure there's nothing in there he can play with, absolutely nothing. And that's how you get him. After a couple days of that, he'll come back crying to you, Mommy, I promise you, I won't do it no more. And then on the flip side, you got to have rewards that he can work towards.
I'm glad to hear you say that, because I've definitely done that this weekend, and he came home yesterday like, I didn't put my hands on anybody. So thank you. I guess I'm just really concerned about what's being built in school. Like at home, I understand he got to keep his hands to himself, point blank. And we go over the principles of Ma'at, and then I also spoke to the stepbrother so he could get that from a man too. So yes, I'm glad that I'm on the right path. Do I not need to be concerned about what's being documented or how it's being documented in school?
Well, what you need to do for that, I would wait to the end of the school year. Or you don't, well, he's in kindergarten, so he's not going to have much in his file. But you can request a copy of his complete academic record, which is your right under the federal FERPA law, Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act of 1974. And you just put your request in writing to the principal. I'm the parent of this young man. I would like a complete copy of my child's educational record to include standardized testing, discipline, classroom information, and anything else. And you can look at it, and if there's anything in it that you think unfairly reflects upon your son, you can challenge that information to be removed from the file.
Okay. Thank you. So the last note asked if I wanted to set up an appointment with a counselor, and I guess that's when my red flags went up. Do I not need to be concerned about?
They want you to set up a meeting with the counselor for what? To talk about what?
To figure out how we, meaning his teacher, the counselor, and myself, can help address the problem.
I don't like the counselor being involved because that implies a mental health or emotional problem. I'm not saying you have to request that she be excluded from the meeting, but I would ask for clarity on why she's there, because this is an issue that can be dealt with the parent, the teacher, and the principal. I don't see a need for the counselor. Now, in some schools, the counselors play that role. In some schools, the counselor might be involved in behavioral management or discipline strategy. If that's the case, so be it. But in my opinion, I don't think you should ever give the school permission for the counselor to meet with your son privately. In my experience, having been doing this for almost 20 years, working in schools for almost 20 years as both a school psychologist and a school principal, okay, and I'll be a school principal again once we buy one of these schools for FDMG, I have rarely seen a counselor who does not use that relationship with your child. I have rarely seen a counselor who does not use that relationship with your child as an opportunity to investigate and infiltrate your personal family business. Instead of counseling, that will be an indoctrination on what's going on in your house. Instead of counseling your son, they'll be asking your son how many men he's seen. Do you still live with your daddy? What's your mommy boyfriend name? Do he smoke weed? Do you have enough to eat? You know, are you happy there? You got to be very careful because your son is young and he loves his mommy to death. But guess what? White folks are very, very clever. White folks are very, very clever. And I don't know if this counselor is black or white, but you got to be careful because before you know it, you'll be getting a subpoena to go to court, or you'll be getting investigated by Child Protective Services because they claim your son said that he didn't eat last night, or they claim your son said that the house was too cold, or they claim your son said that your boyfriend punched him in the face. I mean, I've seen some crazy things, some untrue crazy things come out of black parents letting white counselors meet with their child. Here's what you need to tell them. I will get my own counseling for my son on my own outside of school without your help. And then they're going to say, would you mind signing this release of information form so we can speak with your son's counselor? No, I will not sign that because you have no need to meet with my son's counselor without my notice. You have no need to talk to them without me being aware of it. If there's anything I feel, so you got to let them know I'm the parent here. I run this. If there's anything that I feel you need to know, I will either tell you myself or I will have the counselor write a letter. But I don't see any need for you, or you can tell them not only do I not see a need, I'm not comfortable with you talking to my son's counselor behind my back. I want to be involved in all communication. If you want a meeting with the counselor, we can set that up. So you let them know. If you want a meeting, you can set that up. I ain't got a problem with you talking to the counselor, but you will have that conversation in my presence. Be very careful about that. Okay, be very careful about that. If they want counseling, get your own counseling. Get your own. And I could give you the info for the Association of Black Psychologists, but you can also look for a licensed black social worker, licensed black professional counselor, marriage, licensed family therapist. But keep them out of your business as much as you can. The school is not your friend. The school is not your friend. And I keep telling black parents this, mothers sometimes, they have a difficult time understanding that the school is not your friend. And the reason so many black mothers have a problem understanding that the school is not their friend is because the school is ran by mothers. These women are also mothers. They have their own children. But what we fail to realize is there's a double standard in everything. The way white people treat your kids and the way white people treat their kids is totally different. It's like when black parents say, well, you keep talking this black boy ADHD stuff, but there's a lot of white boys diagnosed with ADHD. That's correct. There's a lot of white boys diagnosed with ADHD. But here's the kicker. That white boy will be given privileges because of his ADHD, where your black boy will be given exclusions and disadvantages because of his ADHD. Two kids in the same class, ADHD, one white, one black. Because he has ADHD, that white boy might not get suspended. Because he has ADHD, that white boy will be allowed to get away with things. Because he has ADHD, that school is going to work with his parents to make sure he gets what he needs. That black boy, they're going to put him on Ritalin. They're going to put him on Concerta. They're going to put him on Cycler. They're going to put him on Adderall. They're going to over-suspend him. They're going to have him in a disciplined school. They're going to put him in special ed for emotional disturbance. So black parents need to understand, you cannot do what white folks do with these disorders in special ed. There's two different, just like there's two different Americas. There's a black America and there's a white America. Well, guess what? There's a black special ed and there's a white special ed. Very important that we understand this. Because we keep on saying, well, the white folks got away with it. You ain't white. Okay? You ain't white. And so it's very important that we understand that. But don't let them speak with the counselor. Get a copy of your records and make sure you be consistent with your punishments and your rewards. And you'll be able to fix that whole situation.
Thank you.
No problem, Queen. Thank you. Someone asked, who is this? Before I go to the next question, someone asked me, what is this? This right here is a plaque that was given to the Prince of Pan-Africanism during my very first journey to the motherland. I went to Africa for the first time in July of 2005, 12 years ago. I was Minister of Education for Marcus Garvey's Universal Negro Improvement Association. And one of the countries I visited was Nigeria. One of my favorite places to visit in the world, Nigeria. Shout out to my Nigeria family, Lagos, Port Harcourt, okay, Abuja, Enugu State. Shout out to Enugu State, Yoruba land, Igbo land, Hausa land. Okay, I will be back in Nigeria. All right, Alafia, I will be there. But I met with the son of the great Nnamdi Azikiwe. For those of y'all who don't know, this is a picture of Nnamdi Azikiwe. He was one of the fathers of African independence. He was a revolutionary Pan-African nationalist. What Kwame Nkrumah did for Ghana, Nnamdi Azikiwe did for Nigeria. What Patrice Lumumba did for the Congo, Nnamdi Azikiwe did for Nigeria. You understand? What Chris Hani and Steve Biko did for South Africa, Nnamdi Azikiwe did it for Nigeria. He led Nigeria to independence. He also attended Lincoln University in Philadelphia. He was also a Garveyite and a member of the Garvey movement in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And I met with his son, who was an Igbo chief, and I went to his house and I met with him, and he gave me this plaque of his father. So I've had this for 12 years given to me from the hands of the son of the liberator of Nigeria. Revolutionary Pan-African nationalism. If it ain't Pan-Africanism, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to debate your religion. I don't want to hear about no hocus pocus. Okay? It's Pan-Africanism for me. So this is the Nnamdi Azikiwe. Okay, I also was given a lucky piece of kola nut that Chief Azikiwe gave me, which I still have now in my Yemonja shrine. Queen Mama Yemonja, the great divine mother. I have that kola nut with her, with some of the dirt that I got from Goree Island. Okay, and we went to the grave of Nnamdi Azikiwe, and we did a prayer to the great ancestor, and then his son asked him to look out for me and to keep watch over me. So Nnamdi Azikiwe is one of those ancestors who walks with the Prince of Pan-Africanism. Okay, so make a long story short, came back from Africa. I quit the UNIA because of nonsense, jealousies, and other envies that was going on within the Philadelphia chapter of that movement. Started Team Pan-African, and I ain't looked back since. I believe that my first trip to Africa, my very first trip to Africa that took me to Ethiopia, South Africa, Nigeria, and Senegal, had a lot to do with me becoming the Prince of Pan-Africanism. I believe that it was that trip that the ancestors wrapped their hands around me and sent me back to America to lead the revolutionary Pan-African nationalist movement. You know, there's a saying, there's an ancient saying in some traditional African cultures. It is believed, and it's even in Kemetic science, there's a saying that Africa will be liberated by her scattered black children. There's a belief that Africa will be liberated by Africans who do not live on the continent, who will come back to the continent to work with brothers and sisters in the continent, not to lead them, but to work with them, not to lead them. We don't do imperialism, but to work with them to help usher Africa, Mother Africa, into the 21st century. This is African culture, that we of the diaspora, the descendants of the slaves, are going to come back to free the mother. We need a movie on that. Tyler Perry, we need a movie on that. Okay, that's what we need. John Singleton, we need a movie on that. Oprah Winfrey, we needed a movie on that. A movie about the descendants of scattered Africans, the descendants of the slaves coming back to rescue their mother. But let me go back to the questions. Is there another question on the call this morning about our children?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Where you calling from, my sister?
Yes.
Let me go with that first sister. We're going to go with that first sister. I want to go with that first sister who spoke. Where you calling from, Queen?
Yes. I'm from Ohio.
What part of Ohio?
Right outside of Cleveland.
Right outside of Cleveland. Go right ahead, sister.
Okay. I am a mother of 6, and I have my children are like divided up in sets. I have an older set and a younger set. But my older set, they have fallen victims of what you discussed, you know, misdiagnosis and special education. And since I moved, I was originally in a smaller area. I was still in Ohio, but I was in southeastern Ohio or southwestern Ohio. But anyway, that school is the one that made them fall victim. And since I've moved, their new school has retested them. Like they didn't have a new ETR since 2005 was their last ETR, you know. And
what do you mean ETR? What do you mean ETR? What is that?
It's where they're supposed to retest them. I think it's every 3 years.
Yes, the reevaluation. Okay, reeval. So you're saying they
Right.
haven't had their triennial evaluation?
No, they had all of the older 3 kids, which my oldest is 18, and I had a set of twins that are 17. And they hadn't been, their last evaluations was 2005.
Okay. If what you are saying is
And-
correct, the school is in violation. Okay, so that's number one.
Right.
Okay,
No,
but
they're
let me
old.
give you this. Let me give you this, then I'm gonna let you finish because I don't want to forget that. You're going to need to write a letter to the director of special ed for the school district, complaining and making them aware of the fact that you realize that the school district is out of compliance. They're violating the law because they did not provide your child with their triennial reevaluation. And if you wanted to, and that's up to you, if you wanted to, you could demand independent educational evaluations for all of those children because the school district failed to evaluate them in the legal timeline. So you could get independent evaluations off of that. But go ahead.
Okay, well, since we moved to the new school district and was there how their records transferred from the old school, they have done that for them. You know, because they noticed their work and how they try. I mean, they even had my oldest daughter completely misdiagnosed. They had her having a disability in reading and had her at the risk of almost not being able to graduate because out of the state test, she passed everything except for the math. And they had her diagnosed for having a learning disability in reading. And she passed that. The graduation test Ohio has. And it's math that she struggles in. So once they re-evaluated her and re-diagnosed, you know.
Oh man, I hope we ain't got no hater. I need you to mute your phone. Hit that mute, brother. I don't need to hear that music. Who got music playing on my line? Come on now. We helping parents on here. We don't need that. Take that ghetto gangster shit somewhere else, please, with that music. All right. Go ahead and continue, sister.
Okay, so once I'm thinking that she may have not even needed special education. You know, same as with one of my children, but as soon as your child shows any difficulty in anything, just the slightest bit, instead of giving them extra help, they want to rush and diagnose them with special education.
Well, that's very true, but we also got to realize as well, my queen, is that and I'm picking on you now, because I know you love your children. I'm picking on you. I'm being sarcastic, but I'm being honest. They could not have special educated your child without your permission. Okay? You signed permission for those babies to be tested. And then after they got tested, you signed permission for them to be in special ed. And then after you signed permission to be in special ed, you signed permission for that IEP. So, you know what I mean? And I know you didn't know, and that's okay. But we also got to realize that we play a role. Okay? I evaluate children for a living. I cannot put nobody in special ed. I cannot evaluate anybody without parent permission. I must have signed parent permission in order for me to conduct my evaluation. So we got to look at the role that we played in all of that. But go right ahead.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and I understand what you're saying, but then the way they come at you, it's kind of like if you don't allow that, you're not doing what you should do for them as a parent.
But you can't let what they think influence you. You cannot let what they think influence you. You don't trust nothing white folks got to say. You don't trust nothing white folks got to say. Here's what we got to understand. Those are your children. You got to live with the consequences of the decisions that you make. They don't. Your child is in an elementary school, 3 years, 5 years. They're in middle school, 3 years. They don't have to worry about your child again. They go to high school for 4 years. That's it. They don't have to worry about them kids. Anything done wrong to those children, That school will never have to worry about it. None of them will have to live with that for the rest of their lives. But you will. But you will. And what I always tell parents, never give your power over to the school. You let them know that I will be making the decisions about this child. We will not be making them. Because, see, they like to do this whole let's decide together. We ain't decide nothing together. This is my child. I don't care if everybody in the school want my child in special ed. If I don't believe they have a disability, they not getting tested. So let them know this ain't no team decision. Ain't no team making no decision about my baby. I'm the damn team. Mommy, daddy, family, friends, community. That's the only team making decisions about my children. Which is why I need you and every other parent listening to this teleconference. I need you to stop going to the school by yourself. See, mothers get bullied a lot. And it's not your fault. But mothers get bullied a lot because y'all love to go into the schools by yourself. Stop doing that. Stop doing that.
Well, at that time, it was before I was a single parent. And I'm married now. And my younger 3 children, you know.
I got you. But you take him with you. You take your husband with you. Never go alone.
At the time, I was a single parent with my older 3.
Got you.
You know. And so there again, you know, I did have my main supporter, which was my mother, with me with these meetings, you know. But again, you know, like my children, I didn't have a father, you know. So it was just like doing everything. I don't have family. I don't, you know, it's just been me and my mom basically all my life, you know. So in that aspect, I didn't really know what to do. I'm taking on their education. They know better than me. You know?
Right. It's okay.
So
it's okay.
That's how that went.
It's okay. Because how many kids you got in special ed now? How many of your children have IEPs?
It's only 3, you know, and in this school, I definitely respect way better because it just shows you know, they're really working with them. Like my son, I just talked to his teachers yesterday, and they totally gave him an IQ test. They said that their old school had him diagnosed as very low intelligence, and it's like, which he is not. Okay. They think he is very bright.
You know what? You know what we may need to do, Queen? We might need to do a one-on-one consultation with you. Because you got 3 different cases. And as you said, I suspect that some of them children, okay, at least 2 of your children, and I don't know this for sure, but based on my experience, statistically, I would say at least 2 of your children don't need special ed at all. So what needs to happen is you need to get a complete copy of their record. And then you're going to need to fax me the psychological evaluations, especially the first one. The eval that put them in special ed, that's the most important. I need to see that. And then I also need to see the subsequent evaluations after that. I charge $50 for the consultation. Okay. And that'll be for all 3 kids together. Okay. I'm not a hustler. It'll be 50 flat for the 3. Okay. I normally do it per case, but it's one family. So just 50. And we can take time out and go over the documents on the phone. You know, me, you, and your husband together. And I could let y'all know how I feel y'all need to move out. So if that's something that you're interested in, then just shoot me a text message, and we can take care of that.
Okay.
All right. Let me give you my cell number. Do you have it?
Yeah, I got all your information on your website.
No problem. So let me know. But what grade? The 3 children in special ed, what grades are they in? Oh, they're in high school. Okay, that changes things a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, that changes things a lot, but we still need to have a conversation about that, and I still need to see the evals, because if we can, if they never needed special ed, if they do not have disabilities, then you are owed compensatory education. You are owed compensatory education. So let's say that those 3 children were in special ed since 1st grade, hypothetically. So they've been in special ed for 10 years. If we find out that they should have never been in special ed, the school district now owes you compensatory education for all 10 years that those children were in special ed and never should have been. They have to pay you. Now, you won't get the money in your hand. The money will go in an escrow account where you can bill the school district for services that are beneficial to your children until all that money is spent. In their case, some of that money might end up being used for college. So if you're correct, and if they were misdiagnosed and put in special ed all these years, they're owed comp ed. So again, if you want to do that private consult, just shoot me a text and we'll set it up.
Okay.
All right?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sister. Where you calling from?
I'm calling from New Jersey, Dr. Umar.
Go right ahead, New Jersey.
Yeah, I've been listening to a lot of your lectures, and I appreciate you. I'm so glad that you have all the knowledge to inform us. I have an older son that's 22, and he's been like, when he was younger, they said that he was ADHD, and I started giving him Ritalin. It didn't work because like inside of his mouth got sore and everything. And so what I did was I just put him in like different activities and everything. Now that he's 22, I find like what he started doing it. He's isolating himself, locking himself in the room, and he's a little bit suicidal. I actually had to bring him to the psychiatric ward Sunday, so he's currently there. He said he's just highly depressed. He's not taking any drugs or whatever, but he seems to always get himself in trouble. And I had put him out of the house twice, and when I did, he got himself in trouble and he got locked up. So it's like it's many years of this back and forth with him, trying to get him on a balance. Currently, he's at the psych unit. So I actually, you were in Queens the other day, and I wanted to bring him, but he didn't want to go. So I was calling you because I wanted to know, like, what could I do going forward to help this young man so that the same issue year after year where he's not doing anything with himself. He went to school, he's supposed to finish, he stopped going, he used to work, he stopped going. It's like, literally, he created like a prison in his mind where he's just locked away in his room from everybody.
Okay, first of all, each and every time that you suspect or he threatens suicide, you have to take him to the emergency room or to the psychiatric hospital each and every time. Suicide is a very, very big problem with black boys. And so we don't want to play with that. That's number one. Number two, okay, we don't want to strike at the symptoms. We want to strike at the root. And that means we got to find out what caused all of this. I know that this young man is going through some serious personal issues. It could be related to you. It could be related to dad. It could be related to peer pressure. It could be related to abuse. It could be related to all kinds of stuff. He needs therapy, and he needs it ASAP. Has he ever had therapy? Okay, you sound blurry, sister. You sound blurry. Are you covering up the phone? Repeat that.
No, he doesn't get any therapy.
Okay, no, he doesn't get therapy. Okay, your phone is getting blurry, like you're covering it up. Okay.
Because I'm in Oakland, New Jersey, to the phone on this side of the phone.
Okay.
I just make work.
Okay. Okay.
But everything you touched, I mean, some of it is because of me, because I pretty much, he's a mama's boy. I've spoiled him all the time. He doesn't know to do anything unless we do it for him. And that's from my part, which I'm doing before that. It's father is doing his life. Father tries as much as to, work with him and show him support. But he's at that point now where he doesn't hear us. He doesn't really care. He does whatever he wants to do.
Got you. Okay. He needs therapy. I want you to text my phone, and I'm going to text you the phone number for the Association of Black Psychologists so you can get a referral. There are black psychologists in New Jersey, and we need to get him some therapy ASAP. He doesn't need to be sitting in that room. He's dealing with depression, okay, with a potential suicidality there. Very serious. Very, very serious. We got to get him some therapy ASAP. So make sure you text me. I'm going to text. Okay, he's in New York. Okay. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to text me. and you're gonna ask me to send you the contact information for the Association of Black Psychologists. You're gonna call them and ask for a referral in New York, and you're gonna get him to a therapist ASAP.
Okay.
You're gonna let them know he needs therapy. He's locked in his room, suicidal. I need a therapist.
Okay.
All right.
So I did the right thing in terms of taking him Sunday to the emergency room.
Okay, I can't hear you clearly. I'm not hearing you clearly.
I did the right thing because he never, usually when I tell him I want to take him to the emergency room to get help, he says no. But Sunday he didn't refuse. He said yes.
Yeah, if he needs to go to the emergency room, Okay, listen. Queen, text me, sis, and we're going to finish that conversation. Just text me because you're not coming through clear.
So what number should I text?
215 989 9858. 215 989 9858. Okay? All right. I'm going to go to the next.
Dr. Umar?
Yes.
Oh boy, this phone. 215
989 9858. 989 9858.
Okay. So I will text you. And then can I ask you one more question?
You're not really clear though. Go ahead. We'll give it a shot, but you're not coming through clear. But go ahead. Go shoot for it.
Okay, I wanted to tell you thank you because you helped me with my 8-year-old. I have an 8-year-old that's in 2nd grade. He's very hyper. The school wanted to evaluate him, and they tried to set up an appointment for me to come in and to evaluate him. And what I did was I wrote a letter, had it notarized, and I went to the district and I told them, I said, you cannot evaluate him without my permission. So I stopped that. The teacher had a problem with me doing so because she wants him to be evaluated because her opinion is that he's ADHD. So by listening to your lecture, what I did, I called her and I held a meeting with the district and everything. I told them, I said, I want you guys to do tutoring with my son and some intervention. I am not doing no kind of testing. So my husband and I, we went to the meetings and everything. And after like 3 or 4 meetings, we are now putting in place intervention for my son. But in the beginning, they wanted to push this evaluation because they say it was C and they didn't even evaluate him yet.
Yeah, don't let that happen. Don't let them push it. ADHD is a joke. Stay away from that.
Right, but the knowledge that you have on YouTube and Facebook, when I listened to your lectures and I went in the meeting, all that information that you have online, it was so useful. It was so informative because I didn't know what's going to do. I didn't really know what to say because it's like you have to know what to say to these people because they'll try to trick you. And all that information you gave me, when I went in that meeting, I felt so good. So I just wanted to thank you. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you, Mama. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And I will be speaking in Brooklyn. I will be speaking in Brooklyn, New York on Thursday, January the 12th. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I'm gonna come out here. But you have a blessed day. I
You too, love.
The ancestors, the Most High will keep covering you, covering the universe will keep covering you. They're doing an awesome job.
Thank you, love. I appreciate those words. Thank you so much.
All right. You have a good day.
You too now. All right now. Is there another question on the call this morning?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Where are you calling from?
Hello?
Yes. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay, Atlanta, Georgia. Go right ahead.
Yeah. I have a question. My daughter is now 8 years old. She's in the 2nd grade, and she's been diagnosed with the IEP since she's been 3.5.
And she's how old now?
I want to get her out.
How old is she?
8 now, and she's 8 years old.
Okay.
And the reason why she got diagnosed at 3.5 is because she really had a speech problem where she had problem actually speaking, like getting her words out. And I had got her evaluated by a doctor, not with a school system or anything, but by a doctor.
Okay.
And they told me that this would be a good recourse for her to go and get in the school system, and that they had programs and things like that, which was good for her speech. It really did help her out. So she had the speech and OD type testing, and she got me fed. But my thing is that she's been in there since 3.5, and she's now 8 in the 2nd grade, and they keep testing her, saying that she's significantly delayed, and I don't really think so.
Okay. She was put in special ed at 3 for what? What was the problem? 3 was young. Normally at 3 it might be speech or hearing or autism. Why was she in special ed at 3? That's preschool, early intervention, but what was the problem?
It was speech.
Now, is it still only speech, or did they now slap her with a learning disability?
Now they slapped her with a learning disability.
Okay. Do you agree with the learning disability diagnosis?
I think it's a small delay, but not the way they're saying it is. I really feel that they have not actually met her needs because of her learning curve. Because
Yes.
I've been listening to you, and I think they've always taught her like 2 grades behind where she should be.
Okay. So what you're telling me is your daughter has a skills delay that was imposed by poor instruction. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay. If you believe that your daughter has a skills delay, that her delay is not due to a disability, her delay is due to the fact that she was not properly educated. If it were me, I would call an IEP meeting, and I would have them immediately exit my child from special education services because she does not need it and never should have been in here for anything above and beyond speech. Speech, I don't have a problem with. But a 2nd grader being in special ed for a learning disability, I have a problem with that. Why? She's a baby. She just started learning. How in the hell can you be certain she's learning disabled if she's only been in school for 2 or 3 years? Okay, remember, whenever a child is evaluated, 4th grade or younger, I always draw suspicion at those types of early diagnoses in special ed placements, because children are so young at that age that there's no way to know for sure. There's no way to know for sure if they really have a problem. Remember, the learning disability is an opinion. The learning disability is nothing more than a professional opinion. And because it is nothing more than a professional opinion, your opinion matters more than anybody else's because you're the parent. Your opinion matters more than anyone else's because you are the parent. So if you do not believe your daughter has a disability, I would exit her. 2nd grade is too young to be in special education.
Okay, now with that being said, I know one thing for sure is that they have her in her learning curve. They have her. She's in 2nd grade, but to me, she's reading on a kindergarten or beginner 1st grade level. How can I get her up to par to push her out of the IEP and put her in regular class?
Okay. If you want to leave her, first of all, how long is she in special ed? Is she part-time? Is she full-time all day? Or is she itinerant where they basically just pull her out for a couple of periods a week? How much special ed service is she currently receiving?
It's all day. It's basically all day.
Your daughter is in 2nd grade in a full-time special ed class? In the 2nd grade, full-time?
The only time they label her as special ed for reading and math.
That is, no, get her out. Okay, you have a decision. Reduce the level of service or get her out. If it were me, based on what you just told me, I'll get her out. Okay, at least you got to reduce the service. At least you have to tell them, my daughter does not need full-time special ed. All she needs is a couple of periods a week. That's the least you need to do. The most is pull her out. One or the other. You either got to reduce the service or pull her out. I think she needs to be pulled out. Remember now, special ed law, there's a clause in the law that says children with disabilities should be educated in the least restrictive environment, LRE. Children with disabilities should be educated in the least restrictive environment. That means your daughter should not be in special ed for even 1 second longer than what is absolutely necessary in order for her to learn. She should not be in special ed not 1 second longer than what is necessary for her to learn. And if she probably don't need to be in special ed in the first place, she damn sure don't need to be in there all day. It's time for you to write a letter to the principal demanding an IEP meeting. It's time to exit your baby or at least reduce the amount of service. Full time for second grade is insane. That's insanity. Your daughter don't have SLD. She don't have SLD. She got ABT. And you know what ABT stand for? She ain't never been taught in the first place. ABT. That's my disorder. I made that up because I'm constantly coming across black kids who are in special ed for SLD, specific learning disability, when the problem is really ABT. They ain't never been the hell taught. It's time for an IEP meeting. Do not go alone. Take 2 people with you for support and make sure you come out with a victory. And the victory is reduce service or eliminate the placement.
Now, see, that's another thing. She has an IEP meeting that's coming up in February, March. And I know if I take her father, she's going to blow the school up. So is there anybody else that can, like, help me with...
No, you need to take the father. No, the father need to go. The father needs to go, but you need to take a... Nah, he can't do that because then he'll be arrested and he'll get a restraining order. He'll never be allowed back in that school. So he don't want to do that. Okay? If you got to, take somebody else with the dad. Maybe bring his brother. You know, bring an uncle or a cousin. Another man who can keep him calm. That's what you need to do. But he need to be there because he got that fire. He got that fire. He the daddy. He need to be there. He need to be there. You just got to tell him, look, we got to go in here and we got to be professional. You can't bring that in here because they'll get your ass escorted out in handcuffs. So, but the daddy need to go because he got that fire. So when you said he'll blow up the building, he need to go. He just need to know he can't blow up the building. And he can't say the wrong stuff out of his mouth. But the daddy need to go there.
Okay.
All right?
Okay. All right, thank you.
No problem. No problem. Get that baby on out of there. My goodness. Full-time special ed. I heard a sister. Let me take the sister first. I heard a sister. Good sister. Where you calling from?
I'm calling from Lexington, Kentucky. Good morning, Dr.
Good
Umar
morning.
Johnson. It's a privilege for me to talk to you today.
The honor is mine. Go right ahead.
I just have a question about my 2 boys. I have a 2-year-old, is my first one, and a 1-year-old. My question is about vaccination because I've been following you on YouTube a lot, and other people also talking about vaccination and black boys. And I was wondering, what can I do, or what is the procedure for me to do in order to go to tell the doctor or the hospital that, you know, they can just come for maybe children well check and whatever, but I don't want my children to be vaccinated anymore. I don't know how to start or where to go.
Well, with the hospital, they cannot vaccinate your child against your wishes. The hospital cannot vaccinate your child against your wishes. However, you need to let them know that, because hospitals are real slick and they'll try to vaccinate your child and then act like they didn't know you didn't want them to. So you need to be very clear with them that you don't want your child vaccinated. You need to be very, very clear with them. Now, as far as the schools, there are 18 states in these United States that allow for personal family belief exemption. All 50 states have a medical exemption. All 50 states, you can get your child exempted from vaccinations with a letter from the doctor. Medical exemption applies all 50. And then you have 18 states that allow for personal family belief. 18 states that allow for personal family belief. Okay? And then, once again, you have a religious exemption in just about every state except Mississippi, West Virginia, California. Mississippi, West Virginia, California only take medical exemption. They only take medical. Okay? So 50 states have medical exemption, 47 states have a religious exemption, and then 18 states have a personal family belief exemption. And so what you have to do is contact your state, state board of health, and find out what exemptions your state allows. We know they allow medical. They probably allow religious, but you want to find out if you live in a personal family belief state. And what state are you in again, sister? What state?
Kentucky.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure about Kentucky, but you can contact the state or even go online and find out. We know I know Kentucky got medical. We know they got religious. See if they got personal family exemption, because personal family is the easiest. Personal family, you just say, we don't believe in this. It's against what we stand for, and that's it. So see if y'all have personal family belief. If not, you're going to have to get a doctor's order, or you're going to have to create a religion that'll get you off the hook.
And for example, if I say that it's my religious belief for the children not to be vaccinated, do I have to?
They're going to ask. Yes, they're going to ask you what religion. They're going to ask you what religion. They're going to ask you what religion. Okay. And if you say I'm a Christian or a Muslim, that ain't going to fly. Why? Because most Muslim and Christian children are vaccinated. You see? So you're going to have to make up a religion. Or do your research on religions that don't allow vaccinations and claim it. That's all I would do.
For example, if I make up a religion, do I go to when I go for the next doctor appointment at the pediatric place? Do I let the doctor know that this is my religion and it's my religious belief?
No, you don't have to let the doctor know nothing. You don't have to let the doctor know anything in the hospital. It's your decision. You don't have to do any explaining. What you have to do is stand your ground. You don't have to do no explaining in the hospital. I don't do this. That's that. That's it. At the school,
I was afraid to let the doctor know that, like that. I was wondering if maybe they might call social services on me and or like refuse.
They can call them, but there's nothing they can do. It's your right. You understand? It's your right. You don't have, and sometimes they will call social services, and then you got to let them know that this is my right as a parent. We don't believe in immunization. Period. If my child gets sick, they'll go to the hospital. They'll get regular checkups, but they're not being immunized. Period. I mean, really, it's...
And in case...
Go ahead.
I have one more question, sir. In case of daycare or school, because most daycare and school, they want the vaccination record, and if I let them know that they don't take vaccine because our religion don't believe that, is it going to be a reason for them not to take my child?
The school cannot refuse to take your child as long as you have a legally permissible exemption. And all that means is you got to find out what your state says with regard to exemption. Religious, medical, personal family belief. Find out which ones your state allows in Kentucky, and then find out which one you're going to use. Which one you think you can get. Okay. I need y'all to mute your phones. I hear two brothers yelling in the back. Please mute your phones. Come. Okay, brothers, I need you to mute your phone. Don't mess up my call. We helping parents here. Let's be serious about some things. Okay. So, do you follow me on that, sis?
Yes, I'm still on. I followed you, and I will find out in my state which if they allow religious or family belief. And you mean just me telling the doctor or telling the daycare is good enough, or do I have to have maybe a legal document showing that the states allow this child not to be vaccinated because of a religious reason? Do I have to have a piece of paper with me, or just my mouth is enough?
No. Listen, every state is different. Normally, what happens in a lot of states, there's a form that you fill out that you send to the state. There's a form you fill out that you send to the state, and they will send it back with your exemption approval. That's some states. Other states, all you need is a notarized letter. So you, again, contact the state Department of Health, State Department of Education. You can even find it online. Okay, immunization exemption for Kentucky, and see exactly what they allow and what the process is. Sometimes you got to mail something in, sometimes you don't. So you got to do some research.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. No problem, good sister. Before I go to the next question, let me deal with something real quick here. Give me 2 minutes for my callers. I want to deal with this Terrence Bailey, Frederick Douglass bullshit that I've been going through. Some of you guys are aware that one of my trolls is Terrence Bailey, who apparently seems to be some sort of distant cousin of mine. I don't claim his ass, though. Okay, I don't claim him at all. But I just want to say that Terrence Bailey has been claiming that Dr. Umar Johnson is not a relative of Frederick Douglass. Well, how did Terrence Bailey get my phone number? You want to know how Terrence Bailey got my phone number? Because he called one of the members of the Bailey Casson family executive committee, for lack of a better word. And she sent me an inbox saying that we have a cousin who wants to talk to you by the name of Terrence Bailey. She sent me an inbox on Facebook, okay? Relatives, okay? Because I don't call them family. I'm going to call them relatives. Family is family. These are just relatives, okay? And so I called him up, and we spoke on the phone. This was a couple months ago. And he was calling me for Ken Norris, someone else who claims to be a direct descendant of Frederick Douglass. Now, for the record, those of you who know me, you know that I have never claimed to be a direct descendant of Frederick Douglass. I have never claimed that. I am a direct descendant of Frederick Douglass's first cousin and half brother by the name of Stephen Henry Bailey, my 4 times great grandfather, who happens to be the same Stephen that Frederick talks about in his autobiographies. When Frederick Douglass talks about growing up with cousin Stephen, that's my 4 times great grandfather. Terrence Bailey knows this shit because my name is on the Bailey family tree. How did my name get on the tree? Why was I allowed to go to family reunions? Why do I get a letter every other year inviting me to family reunions? Okay, so that whole, that whole Terrence Bailey thing is just a bunch of hate shit. It's a bunch of hate shit, okay? And I think it's coming from the fact that when people think of Frederick Douglass, they don't think of him. When people think of Frederick Douglass, they don't think of Ken Morris. When people think of Frederick Douglass, they don't think of all the tens of thousands of descendants of Isaac and Betsy Bailey. They think of me. They think of me. So there's jealousy within my relatives, okay, that is bringing this forth of hatred forward that Terrence Bailey had. I don't know this Negro. I never met him. I never met him. So I'm sure he's a distant relative because his last name is Bailey. Bailey is the family name. I want y'all to understand something. None of us have no exclusive relationship to Frederick Douglass. There's thousands of us. Isaac and Betsy Bailey had over a dozen children. You understand? I come through one of their children named Betsy. Frederick comes through one of their children named Harriet. And then they had other children. I'm not a direct descendant of Frederick Douglass, but I'm a direct descendant of his cousin and half-brother who he grew up with. Okay? I'm not a relative of Frederick Douglass by marriage. I'm a relative of Frederick Douglass by blood. By blood. You understand? The blood that ran in Frederick Douglass veins runs in my veins. Bailey family. Certified Bailey family. Okay? So that Terrence Bailey shit, I'm going to leave that alone. I just wanted to clarify that because I know some of y'all needed me to answer that. Okay? So the next time he start his shit, just ask him a real simple question. Real simple. Is Umar Johnson and Frederick Douglass both descendants of Isaac and Betsy Bailey? That's it. No more conversation. Is Umar Johnson and Frederick Douglass, are they both descendants of Isaac and Betsy Bailey? That's it. That's the only question you need for his bitch ass. Excuse my French. Let's go back to the call. Do we have another question on the line?
ancestors will cover you, because the dollars that you're spreading, people are going to hate.
Indeed, Queen. Thank you. Thank you. Do we have another question?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm just tuning in. How everybody doing? Peace to the peace family. Good.
All is well. Where you calling from?
Brother Umar Johnson, how you doing?
All is well.
Everybody. What's going on? Y'all go ahead. I'm just joined in.
Oh, no problem. Do we have another question on the line today?
Yeah, we do. Good morning, Dr. Johnson.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm also there too, Dr. Johnson. Hello?
Okay. If you're just joining the line, you don't need to introduce yourself. If you're joining, you don't need to introduce yourself. Greetings to everybody. The only folks who need to speak is those who have a question about child education or mental health. Do we have another question on the line about children and mental health?
Johnson.
Yes, sir. Where you calling from?
I'm calling from Randolph, Mass. It's about 20 minutes out of Boston, Massachusetts.
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
And my son was promoted from the 5th grade to the 6th grade, and he started a new school. And I found out the other day that he eats lunch with 2 friends that are on IEPs too. And the reason the teacher said that he has a separation is that he missed a week of school because he was sick. I do remember that. And he needs to make up some work. But he said he's been there since October, and he's only done work twice in the class. Now, he's also been there with 2 other kids that are on the IEP. And now the teacher told him and along with 2 other boys to invite their friends. So now that all in the class that you have, instead of eating lunch in the cafeteria, is a group of young black boys. And I'm wondering, is that legal for them to be able to do that?
Okay, and give me that again. They excluded him from eating with his peers. Is that what I heard?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, what you need is to get a copy of the discipline code for the school district. You want to see the school discipline code and see if that is listed in that code as a consequence. Is that listed as a consequence in that code? That's what needs to. That's what we need to find out next. Okay, and then even if it is listed, you want to find out about. What's the word I'm looking for? You're looking for a consistency in the application. Is there precedent for that? Is there precedent for them excluding children for that? See, here's the thing. The discipline cannot be ad hoc. They cannot make it up as they go. It needs to be in that code. And if it's not in that code, then you can argue that this is discriminatory treatment against my child for whatever reason. Discriminatory treatment against my child for whatever reason. Whether it's race, culture, class, or personality, y'all just don't like my son because you have not shown me in your code of conduct where this is a consequence. No, you haven't shown me that. So because you cannot show me that, that means you are singling my child out for this, and that needs to stop right now. And if I got to go up to the superintendent, I will. And if I need to file discrimination, I'll do that. Question: is this school predominantly black or white? Students and then staff.
Predominantly white with for the teachers, and it's about 50% white and 50% other for the students.
Okay, got you. Okay, yeah. Find out what's going on with that code, and then you also need to find out how long they want to do this. Now, if they want to do it for a day, I probably won't knock them. You understand? But if they want to do it for longer than a day, then we're gonna have an issue.
And I mean, for the lady to tell my son, oh, now you can invite some more of your friends. So now in class, instead of them eating in the cafeteria, they got a group of young black boys in the class with the teacher eating lunch. So I know something's not right with that.
Well, again, how long? I mean, is this a one-day punishment?
It's been since October, Dr. Johnson.
Wait, this has been going on since October?
Yeah, and I just...
Oh, hell no.
Last week.
Every day since October?
Yes, sir.
Oh, nah. That's excessive.
The reason
That's
he
excessive.
said was because he missed a couple of days of school and he was supposed to make up some work. So he said since they've been doing that event, it's only been 2 times that he's done work at that lunch sitting, and the rest they just been sitting there talking.
Nah.
Outside in the class instead of in the cafeteria.
Nah, that's not working. That I ain't feeling that. I ain't feeling that. Yeah, you got to get on that, bro. I thought it was just a couple days. Nah, that's cruel and unusual. You might even got to do a letter to the United States Department of Education, Office of Civil Rights Discrimination, excessive punishment against black children. Straight up. But I would do a letter to the principal.
That's why I wanted to call you before I brought it up to them so I could go about it the right way. Thank you.
No problem, my brother. No problem. I would start with the principal. Then I'm going to go to the superintendent. Then I'm going to deal with the chair of the school board. Then I'm going to deal with my state rep and my state senator. And then I'm going to the United States Department of Education, Office of Civil Rights, and make a formal complaint of discrimination. Excessive, cruel, and unusual punishment against children of color.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. No problem. I want to show you guys something. Appreciate that. Before I take the next call, this right here is one of the books of our family. If you see that, genealogy and history of Stephen Bailey, descendant of Isaac. Okay, and Betsy. Y'all see that? Okay. And then here's my 4 times great-grandfather Stephen. This is my 4 times. This is the man that Frederick Douglass grew up with, the cousin Stephen that he talks about. Okay, that's my 4 times great grandfather. You know, I shouldn't have to go through this. My 4 times great grandmother, Caroline Wilson Bailey. They was both born into slavery. Grandpa, grandma, you understand? I don't like playing these sucker games. Okay, and then Frederick Douglass on their 50th wedding anniversary. On their 50th wedding anniversary, he gave them a Bible. Frederick Douglass, on their 50th wedding anniversary, gave his cousin and half-brother a Bible with the names of all their children in it. Okay, this was in the Bible that Frederick Douglass gave them on their 50th wedding anniversary. And as you can see, the first child is, where we at? Okay, George Washington Bailey. Okay, here we go. George Washington Bailey, that's my 3 times great-grandfather, first black public school teacher in Talbot County, Maryland. Okay. 1841, he was born. Okay. 1841, I got my family tree on the wall right there. I don't like going through it. One more thing while we at it, before I go to the next call. I don't have a doctorate degree, right? I don't have a doctorate degree, right? Right? This right here is my doctoral dissertation. Okay, Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine. You see that, right? Umar Johnson, Psi-D, Doctor of Psychology. You see the date, right? What that say? June of 2012, right? I ain't got no doctorate, right? Here we go right here. Okay, hold on. The signature page, right? It ain't official unless you got the signatures, right? It ain't official unless you got the signatures. You understand? So that's all. You know, not related to Frederick Douglass. Ain't got no doctorate. You know, this the stuff y'all want to play with me. So I just decided to show some proof. For those of y'all on the telephone, I'm showing proof on Facebook Live that I have my doctorate and that I am related to Frederick Douglass, because those seem to be the 2 most recurring conflicts that keep coming up as it relates to my credibility. And the third thing is, what am I doing with the school money? Which is the dumbest question I ever heard. What I'm doing with the school money is I'm saving it to buy a damn school. That's what I'm doing with the school money. We looked at a school yesterday. I was at a school yesterday here in Pennsylvania, $1.4 million. I loved it. They got residential, they got a dorm, they got a gym. It was a nice little, only thing I don't like about it, it's in a white neighborhood. That's the only thing I don't like about it. But it's a former Catholic school, not bad, but I still got some other schools to look at. We will have a school in 2017. So we done dealt with Frederick Douglass. We done dealt with the doctorate. Once I get to school, I want to know what they're going to say then, because y'all just about shut down. Y'all been shut down. Hate has been shut down. So I don't know what we going to do. You know what I mean? What we going to do now? What we going to do now? We running out of stuff.
Everything you said is true. They are saying that. Tell them. I'm glad you have all the proof to show them.
Listen, I told y'all when I went to Africa 2005, ancestors, they sent me back ready for this. They sent me back ready for this. So whatever they throw at me, we're going to throw at me. But let's go back to the questions. Do we have another question about the children on the line right now?
Yes, Dr. Umar. Yeah, my name is Darren Hayes, and it's funny how you kind of breaking down the family tree. And if you look on your comments, you look at my lane, that's kind of like my alias name. But I got a lot of comments in the past saying we do favor. But my mom, she's actually a Wilson, and I got family in Maryland as well. But reiterating back to the question.
Gotcha.
So when we talk about public policy, when we talk about the school system, like our children are not being attentive due to a curriculum that's not based off of something that resonates. You see what I'm saying? Like if a child sees something that resonates with them, they're more intrigued to learn it versus something that has nothing to do with them. So do you the curriculum that's more centered around us is more prevalent? Like it's as is.
Gotcha. And where you calling from, good brother? I don't think I caught that.
Nashville, Tennessee.
Nashville, Tennessee. All right. I'll be in Nashville for Black History Month. I'm trying to get a venue at Tennessee State University. So hopefully I'll be back in Nashville. I haven't been there since 2014, 3 years. So we're working on Nashville. Yes, we do need a better curriculum. But I want to be clear. Curriculum is only as good as the people implementing it. A curriculum is only as good as the people implement it. So, for example, with a lot of the Hotep homeschoolers, with the Hotep homeschool movement, they keep running around talking about they got an Afrocentric curriculum and they got this and they got this and all this stuff, which is all fine, okay? Which is all fine. But I want to know who you got implementing that curriculum, okay? For example, you just bought a brand new set of drums. You bought a brand new set of drums. This is the best drum that they make. The best African drum that they make, straight from the Congo. But guess what? If the person you got playing that drum don't know how to play that drum, then that drum will sound like it is nothing. That drum will sound like it's a bootleg drum instead of the best drum on earth. So it's not just the instrument. The curriculum is the instrument. But you need teachers who know how to play that instrument. And if you ain't got the right teachers to play that curriculum instrument, then the curriculum will ultimately be denigrated and the quality of it will ultimately be compromised because you don't have the right people to play it. That's why with the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy, we have received over, I got to double check, at least 500 resumes. At least 500. I think we almost up to 1,000. I got to double check. But that's how many resumes. And people say, do you need all those resumes? You damn right. Because I need the best people in front of your children. Let me tell y'all something. One of the biggest problems I got with education, I don't care if it's public school, parochial school, charter school, independent school. One of the biggest problems I have with education is that principals and school districts often put the adults ahead of the children. Principals and school districts often put the adults ahead of the children. Okay? So what I'm saying then is at the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy, we will not put the adults ahead of children. So when people tell me, listen, I want to work at your school, I want you to work at my school too. But you're only going to work at my school if you're the best person for that position to be put in front of our children. I cannot promise anybody a position at FDMG. Because if I promise you a position at FDMG before I have interviewed you and before you have demonstrated competency, then I'm putting you above the children. What if I hire somebody who I respect in the conscious community and then they get in the classroom and they ineffective? They're not committed to our children. Then I'm compromised. Then I become a hypocrite because I got somebody in the class who I know ain't good, but I'm going to leave them there because we have a personal relationship. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. If you are not the best person for that position that I can find or who has applied, you will not be there. And I know a lot of people going to be mad at me. I know there's a lot of folks who believe in patronage, who believe that they should get a job by association. Nobody's getting a job at the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy by association. I will hire an enemy who can be committed to our children before I hire a comrade who cannot. FDMG is about FDMG. It is not about you paying your bills. It is not about your status. It is not about you looking like a conscious groupie or none of that. It's about the kids. If you the best, you get the job. If you ain't, you ain't. My school would be like a football team. On a football team where you no longer catching touchdowns, you out of here. Football team, you miss too many field goals, you out of here. So every teacher at my school is going to be a free agent. Every teacher at my school is going to be a free agent, because the minute that the quality of their work diminishes, they will be put on the free agent list and their ass will be released. Do we have another question? Oh, go ahead, my brother.
Yes. Can I go ahead?
Go ahead, my brother.
Can I go?
Yes, you can.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah, would that be Dr. Umar Johnson, South Carolina? I've got a little hoarse here, man. Got some cold symptoms. Would that be directly talking with you? Would that be when you said you were hiring an enemy? And I understand that before you get the person from the conscious community and does not and can't fulfill that position. Would that be in the gays? When I say punk fatty, them to be direct, or lesbians? Based on that, they can be qualified, and I'm going to say that I don't think they're qualified personality-wise. Would you have them at that school, doctor?
Okay. Two answers. Even in an independent school, it will be difficult to discriminate against someone based on gender overtly. But how do I say this? Because, I got haters watching. You and I know what I have to do to make sure this school is what it needs to be. Do you read between those lines, my brother?
Absolutely.
And I'm going to do my due diligence. I'm going to do my due diligence to make sure I put the right people in front of our children who stand for what we stand for and who don't stand for what we stand for.
Absolutely. Right. Next question. Thank you, sir.
No problem. Thank you, my brother. Appreciate it. Also, good morning, sis. Good morning, sis. Go right ahead. Where you calling from, my sister?
Dr. Umar Johnson. I'm calling from Detroit, Michigan.
Detroit, next Friday, December 30th. I hope you in the house.
I'm in the house.
All right.
It'll be my first time coming to see you speak, live.
I hope I don't disappoint you.
Yeah. You haven't thus far. So, let me see here. I have a senior. He's been doing, fairly good thus far, doing what he has to do. One particular class is the elective class. It's college seminar. Last report card marking, he had all A's and B's. He got an A in college seminar. 2 weeks later, went down to a C. I think it might have been maybe less than an hour later, it went down to a F. So that raised up some red flags for me. I kind of talked with him about it. And, we're on what they call power school, so we get this, he actually had it come into his phone. And I had his phone at the time, so this is how I was able to see. It went from an A to a C and immediately to an F. And I'm like, okay, what's going on here? So I tried to reach out to the teacher. I called to get her email address. I was emailing the wrong email. I was given the wrong email. Called, left a couple of messages, never received a phone call. So I emailed the counselor. Okay. She eventually got back with me. I spoke with her. My son was telling me that he was trying to get some missed work due to absence, and she wouldn't give it to him. So when I talked to the counselor, I asked her, what exactly was going on. She said she gave my son the missed work for him to, do. And I was asking her what's going on with the teacher. I mean, he told me that he was asking her, she wouldn't give it to him. I would like to speak with her. I've been calling, leaving messages. Haven't gotten a return call yet. This was in November. Okay. So that's over 30. It's been over 30 days now. I haven't heard from the teacher. I touched back base with the counselor because nothing has changed as far as his grade. He still have these, zeros. In the beginning of the semester is the reason why he got an A. He was getting A's here and A's there on his assignments. Now they just updated his grades yesterday, and I'm seeing all these low grades. Okay, I reached out to the principal prior to. She was supposed to get back with me. She never got back with me. That was weeks ago now. So now I'm at a point where I have a day off today, and I'm going up here to speak with the principal about this issue. He has grades in, but they're low grades. And I'm just feeling like, okay, first of all, I don't think the teacher has his best interest. She shouldn't even be teaching. That's how I feel. For any teacher to give a child an F, I feel that is a fraud upon the teacher, especially if the parents haven't been contacted. Okay? I don't think you have the best interest for that child. If you're comfortable with just giving a child an F and you're not being supportive, you're not working with that child, and you have not contacted the parent. So I'm kind of a little annoyed and frustrated with this issue, and just wondering if, am I going about this the right way? I'm documenting my contacts and my communications with these people, and I'm really wanting to pull them out of the class. It's an elective class. I'm not happy with the teacher at all in her performance. Her performance is an F, if you ask me. So what advice can you give me with dealing with this?
Okay, first of all, you need to get a hold of the grading policy for the school district. You need to get the grading policy, not the teacher's grading policy. You want hers too, but you want the grading policy for the district to see if the grades are even being justified. As a former school principal, I can tell you, teachers often grade on emotion. Teachers often grade on how they feel about a child. This is why misbehaving children can get low marks, even when they're the smartest kids in the class, and children with underdeveloped skills can get high marks because they're the best behaved in the classroom. So you need to get the grading policy from the district. I would call downtown to find out what the school district grading policy is. Then I would get the teacher's policy, and I would compare the two to see if the teacher's policy contradicts the district's policy. Because even if there is room for attitude or task completion, the bulk of a grade is going to be based on your performance. It's going to be based on tests, quizzes, and assignments. So you can scientifically evaluate and see whether or not that grade was legally justified. That's number one. Okay. Number two, this is why it's always good for parents to keep a record of their child's assignments. Children should do it themselves, but it's always good. Listen, whenever you have a test or a quiz or homework, whenever you get something back with a grade, it comes to me. Whenever you get something back with a grade, it comes to me. Why? Because when it's time for grades to come out, if we don't agree with the grade, I need to pull out every grade you ever got, take these to the teacher, and say, this is every grade my son has ever gotten. When I average up these grades, I get an 85. You gave him a 70. How did he get a score that was 25 points lower on his report card than what I have here? And then she may say, well, because of his attitude. Well, based on policy, okay, behavior is only 10% of the grade. So even if you gave him a 0 for behavior, my son should have still got at least a B minus. You gave him a C. So you got to gather all that data so you can scientifically, mathematically refute what she's doing. Problem is we don't keep track of our children's grades as they come in, so we often end up at the mercy of the teachers and the principals because we don't have any ammunition. We don't have any documentation to upon which we can base our argument. But yet and still, even if you don't have all that, you can still ask for copies of all that. And if the teacher don't have copies of all that, you can ask for the grades from her grade book. The only problem with that is she can change those grades in her grade book. She can change those grades right now and make it reflect what it needs to reflect in order to justify the F that she gave your child. So I think, here's the other thing. It doesn't sound like you've dealt with them yet at all in writing. Is that true?
I have emailed them.
Okay, email is good enough. Email is good enough.
And sent it out yet?
No, email is good.
Point, that's what I'm getting ready.
Okay, make sure you keep that.
Say that again.
Email is good. Make sure you keep your documentation.
Yeah.
But also, it might be time. It might be time to write a letter to the superintendent. It might be time to go above the principal's head. But that F, that's not acceptable. What grade is he in?
He's a senior.
That can mess up. That can mess him up with college selection and admission.
Exactly.
Yeah, you got to fight that. You got to fight that. Yeah, superintendent. It's time to hit up the superintendent. You can also, before you go to the superintendent, you might want to see if your district has a director of curriculum and instruction or grading and assessment. And you might appeal to them first before you go to the superintendent. But it's time to move up the chain of command now.
They do. They do have a director of curriculum.
Yes. Get in contact with them because you need to talk with someone downtown. Central administration. It's time for central administration to intervene in this situation.
Okay. Now, the director of curriculum, they have someone here at the school that is.
No, you don't want the school. You could talk. You could talk. No, you could talk to them at the school first if you want, but ultimately you got to go. You got to go downtown. You're not going to get any redress in that school because they all on the same team. Schools, the school team is like a gang. The school team is like a gang. They defend each other when they're wrong. I'm telling you, I've seen teachers defend other teachers. I've seen teachers fabricate and lie to defend another teacher. Ain't no honesty in no school when it come to your child. I want all y'all to hear that. I'm gonna say that again. There is no honesty in the school when it comes to your child. Every teacher in that school will lie to protect another teacher's job. It's like the police. The teachers are like the police. They will lie. They will fabricate information. They will do anything. I'm telling you, they operate like a well-organized gang. So going up there looking for someone in that school to disagree is not going to happen. But it would still be good for you to meet with the director of curriculum for the school so you can at least say that you did explore that. Because when you go to the superintendent, you want to let the superintendent know that I have exhausted every means to get this dealt with at the school level. That's why I'm coming to you.
Okay. All right. So, okay, we're talking about the school. When you're saying superintendent, school of curriculum, director of curriculum, I think you talk about other school, but you're talking about the school district, the superintendent of the school district.
Yes, the school district. There's no superintendent for the school. The superintendent is only for the school district. Only time you have a superintendent of a school is if you only have one school. And you do have one school districts out there. I went to a high school that was one school and we had a superintendent. It was a one school superintendent. But yeah, it's time to go to the district. You still there? Yes, ma'am.
Oh.
So you're good to go?
Yep, thank
you.
All right.
Let me know how it turns out. No problem.
Most definitely.
Okay. No problem. Before I take the next question, and I don't mean no offense to this because I know some of y'all don't know, but I'm looking at my Facebook Live posts, and some of you are asking me where the first school is going to be. I feel like I answer this question like 1,000,000 times a day. You're going to get the same answer. I don't know what you're looking for, but I'm looking for schools. I don't care where the school is at. I'm looking for the best situation to get started in. Okay, so I can't tell you where the school going to be because I don't know. I can't tell you what school is going to be because I don't know. But I'm looking at schools. I have more schools to look at this week. I got a school to look at in Atlanta. I got schools to look at in Delaware. I'm looking at schools. I got a couple schools to look at in Baltimore before my lecture on Monday. Okay, so I don't know. What you need to do is donate, because if we had more money, then I would have already had a school by now. But I got to look at something I can afford based on what I had. So stop spending all your Christmas money on weave, perm, your white girlfriend, sneakers, clothes, big screen TVs, tablets, and cell phones, and donate to the damn fundraiser. Okay, GoFundMe.com/Dr. Umar, or mail in your check or money order payable to FDMG Academy, P.O. Box 6878, P.O. Box 6872, P.O. Box 6872, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 19132. That's what you need to do. And then you need to tell everybody in your family to donate, because some of y'all got rich bougie people in your family, rich bougie ass people in your family. Tell them they need to donate to the damn school. Okay, that's what you do. Your part. I'm doing my part. You do your part. Okay, that's what you need to do. Because I keep running around talking about where the school going to be and this and that. I saw somebody say, yeah, somebody need to ask him when we going to get the school he been talking about. I'm going to get the damn school I've been talking about when I get enough money to get the damn school that I'm talking about. Okay? But at least I'm trying to build a school. What the hell you doing for black folks? That's what I want to know. What the hell are you doing for black folks? Because y'all love to give me a million questions. Y'all don't ask none of these hotep Negroes.
Put your phone on mute, sir.
Yeah, put your phone on mute, my brother. Everybody should have their phone mute. Mute your phone. Mute your phone. But what y'all need to do is go ask these hoteppers in the conscious community what the hell they doing to help black folks besides run their damn mouth and give you their opinions all the time. That's what you do. You know what I'm doing. I got the Unapologetically African College Tour. You know what I'm doing. I got the National Independent Black Parent Association that I'm building. And I hope to see all y'all in San Diego, California for the West Regional National Independent Black Parent Association Training Conference. Okay, Friday and Saturday, January 27th and 28th. Now, the conference is being held in the West because we want to rotate the conference so people in different areas of the country have a chance to come to a conference that's close to home. So if you live in New Mexico, you in California, you in Oregon, you in Washington, you in any of those West Pacific and Mountain Standard Time states, you need to have your ass in San Diego. Okay, because that's the closest we coming. Okay, but it is a national conference. So if you in Boston or New York or Chicago, Detroit, Texas, the Carolinas, anywhere, and you want to start a chapter, you got to get the training. If you want to start a chapter, you got to get the training. So we have Baltimore in May, we had Houston in September, now we got San Diego in January, and then we're going to do Midwest next spring. But I hope you don't wait till next spring. Don't tell me you can't afford it, because I'm willing to bet that you drive in a car that you don't need, but you want to bling bling. I bet you got pocketbooks, and I bet you got expensive Air Jordans. So don't tell me you can't afford it. Tell the truth. I don't care enough about black kids to spend any of my money coming to your conference. Just tell the truth. I don't care enough about black people to be donating to the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy. That $100, I need that for some new Air Jordans. I need that to take my white wife out. I need that to get me a new perm. Just tell the truth. I don't care enough. Stop making excuses. Just tell the truth. You don't care enough. And I'm not going to be mad at you, because black people sick. Post-traumatic slavery disease. We all have it. Next question on the call.
Yeah, Dr. Umar?
Yes, sir. Where you calling from, my brother?
Hey, I'm calling from Toronto, Canada.
Toronto. I need to get back up to Toronto. Go right ahead.
Yeah. So, I'm 20 years old, and I recently just found out I have a child, and I had this child with a white woman.
Yes.
So I'm just wondering, as a therapist, have you recognized any patterns of low self-esteem that biracial children have specifically?
Biracial children, and I've done therapy with enough. I've dated biracial women,
Yeah,
very
do you
good
recognize
sisters.
any patterns of like low self-esteem or anything that I should be looking out for?
Right. Yeah, hear me out. I've done therapy with biracial children, a lot of them. I have biracial friends. I've dated biracial sisters in my past, very good sisters. And I can tell you that being biracial comes with a challenge, because you're growing up essentially as a race in between. You're half African, you're half European, so you're half God and half devil at the same time. And so it can be very difficult to navigate those waters, because on the one hand, you know you're black, but when you look in the mirror, you don't quite feel it, even though that is what you are biologically and anthropologically. You're an African. On the other hand, you know you're not white, but you're related to white people, and even in your family, you can clearly see that you're being treated differently because you know that your father is black. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to raise that child with unshakable, unquestionable self-esteem. That means you're going to have to talk honestly and openly about race. That means you're going to have conversations with family. You're going to have to let both sides. You're going to have to let the black side know that I don't want to hear no biracial jokes. I don't want to hear no light-skinned jokes. None of that stuff. You're going to have to talk to the white family and tell them that if I ever hear of you making a racist joke about black folks around my child, you will never see my child again. You're going to have to be firm, because if it's one thing that I've heard from nearly every biracial child or adult I've ever met in my life, is most of them have had to deal with traumatization by way of verbal abuse regarding their African ancestry from their white relatives. I have heard that from nearly every biracial person. I know one sister I dated, she was biracial in the Garvey movement with me, and she used to tell me about how they would make little N-word jokes about their hair. You know, N-word jokes about the black butt and stuff like that. You know, so you're going to have to lay that law down. But the most important thing you can do is let that child know that they're African. Give them that identity. Let them know this is what you are, and let everybody in their life know this is what they are. But your biggest challenge is not going to be from the family members or society. Your biggest challenge is going to be convincing his mother that this child is black. It is the white mothers. It's the white mothers who often confuse the so-called biracial children about who they really are. So you're going to have to make sure you and her are clear. If the two of you are clear that this child is going to be raised unapologetically African, still respecting the white family, still admitting the white family, still having a relationship. He's not rejecting the white family. He just happens to be an African with a white family. That's it. But if you and the mom are on the same page, if y'all on the same page, the child will be fine. But if she's in denial about her son being black, that's going to make it a little bit more difficult for you, but you can still get the job done.
All right, Doc, I appreciate it.
And then once I get the school open, send him to the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy. I promise you, after 2 weeks, he gonna know he all African.
Yeah, I was just wondering, when is the female school gonna be up and running?
Oh, it's a female. I'm sorry. You have a daughter. You have a daughter, not a son,
Yeah,
correct?
right.
Okay, my apologies. I have 2 daughters myself. I don't know. As I said in the previous comment, I'm looking at schools right now, and it looks like, depending on the size of the school, we might be able to do boys and girls together. Depending on the side of the school, we might be able to do boys and girls together, but we only playing with about $700,000 right now. So I really think that the first school is going to be boys only. Some people think it should be anyway. But of course, with 2 daughters, okay, and 6 sisters, okay, and 1 million aunts and 1 million female cousins and nieces, you know, I'm very sensitive to the needs of females. So I would like to do, you know, boys and girls if I can. But I think we're going to end up with a small to medium-sized school, which will only allow us to start off with the boys at first. But we will be extending to the Anna Douglas Amy Garvey Academy as soon as we can.
All right, thanks a lot. I'll make sure to donate for sure.
Will do, my brother.
Appreciate it.
Will do.
Right, do it.
Okay. Before I go to the next question, somebody had asked me about the current crisis that's going on in the conscious community. I've been getting emails and texts and inboxes about things that have occurred over the past weekend and the past week. I'm not going to comment on those things because as an isolated incident, it's none of my business. And one thing y'all would know about me, unlike other people in the conscious community, I'm not an opportunist. So when somebody is going through something, Dr. Umar Johnson doesn't see the need to make a video about it. I don't need to make posts about it. I do not need to benefit from anyone else's conflicts, anyone else's misfortunes. I don't live my life like that. So I will not be making a comment on that situation. But I will say that I believe that the elders, of the conscious community, it's time for them to come together as elders. I'm talking about the mamas and the babas. And they need to put on a mandatory meeting for all leaders or leading speakers within the conscious community to come and have a sit down. I'm very serious about this. Baba Jeffries, Baba Smalls, Attorney Maddox, Queen Mother Jeffries, Queen Mother Kwesi, Baba Kwesi, Renoko Rashidi, okay, Queen Afua, Phil Valentine, Baba Khamenei, all of the elders, leading speakers within the elder community, it's time for them to come together and call a meeting. Because this shit then went too far. It's borderline dangerous right now. Some of the stuff I'm seeing, some of the stuff I'm hearing. And I think it's time for the elders to be elders. Okay, I think it would be a great travesty. A great travesty. And I didn't name all the elders. I'm just naming the ones that are very prominent, who I've worked with, many of whom I respect. Everyone know Baba Kwesi when it comes to Egyptology. Okay, he's the king of that. Dr. Laila Africa, he needs to be at that table. When it comes to diet and health, he's the king of that. Queen Afua, okay. Sister Shahrazad Ali, when it comes to female issues, they the queens of that. Dr. Patricia Newton, black psychiatry, she's the female, she's the queen of that. Okay, Baba, Dr. Kevin Washington, president of the Association of Black Psychologists. Okay, Jeffries Smalls, Mama Jeffries, Queen Mother Leola Maddox. It's time for all the elders to come together as an eldership. And they need to call a mandatory meeting of all of the leading speakers. I'm not going to say leaders because with all due respect, I don't see too many leaders, but I do see leading speakers. Okay? And they need to have a mandatory meeting where all of us, myself included, and y'all know I'm at the top. I'm the most requested. Okay? And I'm telling you that I need to be there. I need to be there so the elders can say, listen, this how this shit gonna go from now on. We setting rules to this shit. When y'all have conflicts, y'all don't settle the conflict on YouTube. Y'all don't settle the conflict between yourselves. Y'all come to us. And no one is allowed to attack another brother or attack another sister. If they need to be disciplined, the elders will do the discipline. That's what we need. We need the elders to step up. Will the elders step up is the question. Will my elders, who I love and respect, step up and call a mandatory meeting to enforce everybody to come, and anybody who think they too good to come, they ass don't get supported no more. Ain't nobody above the conscious community. If Dr. Umar Johnson can come, then all y'all can come, because ain't none of y'all names above mine. All y'all can come. Nobody is above. If you think you too good to show up, your ass don't get supported no more. Go hustle somewhere else. No more hustling consciousness. If you hustling consciousness, then you got to come and get your marching orders from the eldership. That's how Dr. Umar Johnson is coming. We need the elders to be elders. Before this year ends, a date needs to be set for a private. This cannot be live streamed. No live stream shit. There needs to be a private meeting with the leading speakers. If you made a documentary, your ass better be there. You speak on the lecture circuit, your ass better be there. You got a radio show and you got a following, your ass need to be there. The people you watch and see on YouTube and listen to on the radio, they must be there. Because all this troublemaking shit, conflict shit, fighting over money shit, it got to end. And again, I'm not speaking on that because that's none of my business. I hope them brothers work it out. I got respect for all of those brothers, despite any differences I may have had with any of them individually. I don't like it. It's not good for either side. It's not a good situation. But I'm not putting my nose in that because it's none of my business. But speaking, I would say that that's just a symptom of a larger issue, and we need the elders to stand up and be elders. Are y'all feeling me? If you feeling what Dr. Umar just said, give me a black fist on Facebook. If you feeling me that it's time for the elders to call a mandatory meeting of all the conscious heads, give me a black power fist on your Facebook. Post me a black power fist if you in agreement with Dr. Umar Johnson. Okay? Yes, Brother Mufadishi should be there as well. I got tremendous respect for him. I didn't call everybody. All right? I didn't call everybody. All right? So let's stop being divisive and petty, because that was real petty right there. You don't have to name who I didn't name. I'm not leaving nobody out on purpose. I'm just giving you some examples of elders who are prominent, who I believe have the power and the right and the authority to do this. Okay? Because when it comes to education, okay, you know, you might got to call on the good brother down in Hotlanta. If you're dealing with women, Mama Jeffries, Shahrazad Ali. Psychiatry, Dr. Newton. Okay, you're going to deal with media, then you're going to have to go to Brother Carl Nelson. And I'll be on the Carl Nelson show Thursday. Economics, Baba Claude Anderson. Okay, African history and culture, Jeffries and Smalls, Baba Jeffries. Egyptology, Baba Kwesi, Mama Kwesi. Okay, health and diet, Dr. Laila Africa. You understand? To me, they the kings and queens. They the kings and queens of this, even above myself. You understand? I'm humble with it. I'm humble with mine. So it's time for them to step up and call a meeting because it's getting out of hand. It's really, really getting out of hand right now, and only the elders can bring justice to this. Only the elders, and I will submit to the elders, and I'm sure all my other brothers and sisters in the conscious community will submit also. Okay? Is there another question on the call?
Yes, there is, Dr. Umar Johnson. How are you?
How you doing, love? Where you calling from?
I'm calling from New York City, and I have a lot to say, I think.
Go right ahead.
All right, so no problem. Ethan, I had to give him it's an emergency, IEP meeting because he was in a class. He was in 12 one-to-one class, but he was actually ICT. But the school, they didn't have an ICT class. And at that time, I didn't know anything, so I'm just like, okay. But that IC class, the self-contained class was actually all wrong. He had a, Jewish teacher. Oh, he was a dickhead. That was because he blamed all the things that happened on all the kids. Like, he never said, oh, here's what I should have done, but he blamed it on all the kids. So therefore, I went through, not even an IEP, an impartial hearing. I did about 2 of those, as far as, to go to school, back and forth. And also, how can I say, I've been listening to you since 2010, and I have to tell you, it was because of you. I never gave Ethan any drugs because every time I listen to you, you always used to say, "Don't give your children drugs," and they would always offer that, and I would say to them, "I'm not going to use it for crack." And they would be, in a sense where they were upset, and I don't know how they felt about the situation, but I'm halfway, or even it's halfway out. Because as soon as, I take him out of the school, then I can take him out, special ed. But I have to say to everyone, it's not an easy task, but it needs to be done because, we don't do shit about it. They're just going to continue to do it. And they're not going to care. And as you said, earlier, teachers stick together. They will lie together. They will say that, I don't know, they will just lie for no reason.
Yes.
For no reason. And it's like you're sitting there. I'm sitting at a table where you was, and we're sitting down. It's like a group of broads. And they're just like, well, he's been doing... Oh, well, listen, I don't know what you're talking about, but I came here to take him out of the 12 one-to-one. I don't really care about how he's progressed. I'm not interested. He needs to be out of here. And that's it, because they will talk around everything. Everything. They go up the block, they go to Saturn, but I have to take them back and say, listen, we're talking about Ethan has to get out of this school, period. So I have to... I have to say to you, Dr. Umar, thank you for everything.
Thank you, sister. I
Literally.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Because, yes, it's a lot of things that I've learned from you. And, I didn't know I had. It was there. But you brought that motherfucker out. And I just became like, King, I don't want my kid in special ed. Because special ed is not really that special for us. For them, it's special. Oh, yeah, it's good. But for us, as a parent, it's not special at all.
That's right.
Period.
That's right.
And that's it. I appreciate you. All righty?
Thank you, beautiful. Appreciate that.
You too. Of course. You take care of yourself.
All right. Is there another question on the call this morning?
Yes, Dr. Umar.
Yes, sister.
I have a question.
Go ahead, sister. Where you calling from? Where you calling from?
My son, I'm calling from Michigan.
From Michigan. Go right ahead.
Macomb, Michigan. And I'm calling because my son is in the IEP program. He was seeing a psychologist at school. He's no longer having, he's in 7th grade and no longer having any issues. And he's no longer having any issues. So last year's IEP program, I asked for the psychologist. I told her I no longer need her services. Well, she was stating that my son had ADD or ADHD, and I told her, no, he doesn't, because I took him to see a neurologist, and the neurologist confirmed that he doesn't. So she didn't like that I had done that. So she was very insensitive, saying that my son is not, and I also took him out of the math program. So she was saying he's not going to make it because he can't read, and so he's not going to make it. So this year's IEP program, when I came to see her, not her because I asked her not to be there, she was there. And so I was very angry about it. And so I said, well, I don't understand why you're here. I told you I no longer need your services. And he's only in the reading portion of the IEP program. So she went to look at his grades for math, and at that time, he was receiving an 88. He has an 80 now. So she was like, well, I forgot what reason she gave me that she was there. So she wanted to continue to argue about the ADD, and now the principal was there, 2 teachers, the caseworker, and a counselor. So then she said, well, by the time he's 22, he still is not going to be able to read. So I didn't like those. I felt like she's very insensitive, and she didn't like it because they wanted to know why I called the meeting. And I told her that I have a friend that's a psychologist, which is yourself. And I need, because he's still in the IEP program, elementary school, and he's still not reading up to 7th grade level. So I felt like the program was failing me, and I wanted them to pay for a tutor. And so they said, oh, no, we don't have. First she asked me, where did I want him to go? And then I didn't have a particular place, and that's where I failed because I should have did my homework before that. And so then she said, oh, no, we don't do that in this district. And I said, well, like I said, my friend is a psychologist, and he's also a principal, or will be a principal of a school. And so he told me that the IEP program does have money set aside for if the school is failing you, that they would pay for a tutor. She said, no, we don't do that. So I want to know what I should do at this point because I don't like the comment. First of all, I asked her not to be. I told her I no longer need her services. So, and she was there again. I wrote to her supervisor and her supervisor. And when the lady called me back, she didn't address what happened or how her employee, how she was very insensitive and how she was saying my son is not going to be able to read. Now, remind you, just to tell you, my son is receiving a 3.2 right now. So for her to say that, and he's striving in every class, you know, I just feel like that is very discriminative.
Okay.
I feel like she's being...
Okay. First of all, and this is the school psychologist, correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, first of all, I don't know who told her that she runs the school. Okay, but all you have to do, you can end all this. You can end all this with a letter to the principal. Remember,
yes, sir.
The school psychologist answers to the principal. Okay? All you have to do is write a letter to the principal. I no longer want my child in special ed. or I no longer want my child being seen by the psychologist, whatever you no longer want, state it to the principal in the letter and tell them you don't want to be harassed about it anymore.
I'm sorry, someone's talking.
I need y'all to mute. Mute your phones, my brother. Mute your phones. Mute your phones, please. Mute your phones. Mute your phone. Okay. Now, did you say you wanted your child out of special ed?
No, what I wanted them to do is help me get some tutoring for him for reading.
Okay.
Because I took him out of the math program because there's a test that they have to pass, and he passed it, but she was saying that he was going to fail because he's not great at reading.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because some of the math that they have now requires reading. But when she went to look, he's receiving an 88. He's doing great because I go to all the parent-teacher conferences 3 or 4 times a week. I'm emailing all the teachers. I'm looking at the parent portal every single day. The major thing is the teacher, there was a science teacher that did not like, because in my IEP program it states that if he has a below a C that he can redo assignment, and so he was doing that. And a lot of the teachers don't like for him to redo the assignments because it's a lot of work for them. So what the principal said is we're going to take this, we're no longer going to have it where he can redo assignments. The only thing that he will be able to redo is the test.
Okay, let me say this to you. Let me say this.
He will no longer be.
Let me say this to you. Anything that you feel your son needs, anything that you feel your son needs to be successful in school, you need to see to it that it is included on the IEP. If you want him to have extra time to take his test, he can get that. Tell him to put on the IEP. If you want him to be able to do his assignments over, you can get anything you want. You must have it on the IEP. The IEP is a contract. And anything a child with special needs, they basically get unless it's unreasonable. And you're not asking for anything unreasonable. So all you have to do is get that put on the IEP. You need to call an IEP meeting, and you need to have a list of everything you want added on, and tell them you want it added on. And until they add it on, you're not signing the IEP. So you can get all of that, including the tutoring. Including the tutoring. Well, see, also you.
And I asked for the few infos, please.
No, go ahead. I'm listening.
I'm sorry. He took it off. It was on there last year, and then this year, October 17th, he took it off. And so I told them that this isn't working for my son, and I need it back on. And I emailed him, the principal, the counselor, the caseworker, and the teacher. And he never, the caseworker responded. The principal didn't. And she said, and she put like exclamation marks, so she was yelling, saying, no, we're not doing that. We explained that to you. I don't know if you understand or not, but we explained that to you at the IEP meeting, that he will no longer be able to redo assignments. So that's when, all of this happened. So that's why I sent a letter to the district, which that's where the psychologist, she works there. So the school psychologist, and I sent a letter, and then it still wasn't resolved.
Okay.
So now what I need to do is call,
write a letter. I need you to start writing more. I need you to start writing more, or get an email address. The phone calls are fine, but you must follow up with a letter or an email. You must, because you need documentation of your struggle in case we ever have to take this further. But here's the other thing I wanted to say, and then I'm going to let you finish up. With regard to the tutoring, and let me squeeze this in before I forget. With regard to the tutoring, okay, 2 things. Number 1, if you feel he needs tutoring, have him put it on the IEP. That's number 1. Remember, they get extra money to educate your child. They get extra money to educate your child. And because they get extra money to educate your child, you can definitely ask for tutoring. So that's number 1. Number 2, with regard to the tutoring, is this. If your child still needs tutoring above and beyond special ed, then something's telling me that the IEP is not appropriate. Something is telling me that they're not really working with him the way that they need to work with him in special ed. If your child is in special ed, that's all they should need. If they need tutoring on top of special ed, unless they mentally retarded, which your child is not. Now, I can understand an intellectually disabled kid. Your child ain't intellectually disabled. So why does he need tutoring on top of special ed if special ed is doing what they need to do? It's because they're not doing what they need to do. So you can look at this two ways. You can come at this from the perspective that y'all need to revamp the IEP or revamp who y'all got implementing the IEP. So that's one perspective you could come from. Or you could come from the tutoring perspective. Or you can come from both. Y'all going to improve this IEP and y'all going to give him tutoring to make up for all the time that he was not properly being serviced in special ed. And if y'all have a problem with that, I'll take your ass to due process and get compensatory education money and make the state force you to give me money that I can spend on extra services for my son because y'all clearly are failing him. So you got a couple options. You just got to put your war plan together and decide how you want to approach it. But do not go to that school meeting by yourself. But go ahead.
Okay. Now, I printed out the paperwork for it's the United States Department of Education Office for Civil Rights and Discrimination complaint form. Should I fill that out and also ask for IEP because I had one.
I don't think you're there yet. I don't think you're there yet. I don't think you're ready for the complaint yet. Okay. I think we haven't dotted every I and crossed every T yet. We haven't dotted every I and we haven't crossed every T yet. So we need to go back and make them do right. And if they resist, we need to then consider that. But I think we still got another step though. We haven't made our demands. We haven't made our demands. So we need to go to that IEP meeting and make our demands.
The email.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. And I do have all the emails. That's okay. It's my fault. I'm sorry. And I do have all the emails that I sent to the supervisors and the supervisor and the principal because I always attached him to, because I couldn't believe that he would allow the psychologist to say that my son is not going to be able to read at age 22. I didn't think that he would allow her to. I thought he would jump in and say something, but he didn't. And this is a predominantly white school. It's a couple of us, and most of the black people in the school are having an issue as far as the IEP programs because they're always saying that our children have ADD and ADHD.
Gotcha. Okay. So you good to go?
Okay, so I'm gonna yes sir. So they can't say that I already had an IEP program this year. A parent can call an IEP meeting whenever you want. A parent can call an IEP meeting whenever you want. Okay. So I will do that right now after we get off the phone. Thank you.
No problem, love. No problem. I got time for you too. I have time for 2 more questions. I have a Detroit radio interview at 9, so I'm gonna do 2 more questions. Do we have another question on the call?
I got a question.
Yes, sir. Where you calling from?
I'm calling from Brooklyn, New York. My name's Jamal, and before I get to the question, I just want to give you some background. Basically, with public schools in Brooklyn, like let's say the area, the rich white areas like Park Slope, or let's even go to Long Island, I know of food committee meetings that happen in public schools where white people are, let's say in Levittown, where if they ran out of tomatoes, this really happened, the parents called a food committee meeting for 3 hours because the kid complained that they ran out of tomatoes in the salad bar. Park Slope, one of the parents was accused of stealing about $400,000 from the Parent Teachers Association. Imagine $400,000 being missing long enough for her to get away with it. So my question is, how do black people, black parents, come together to strengthen their own public schools? We have charter schools. I know there's independent schools like the one you're trying to start. But in the meantime, what can we do to strengthen the public schools in our neighborhood where it can, because I mean, if PTA meetings can get 501c3s and be that powerful, what can we do in order to strengthen the public schools that our kids currently go to using the resources that our tax whether it be federal, state, or municipal, paid for in order to make progress right now?
Okay.
That's really my question.
The simple answer is start a chapter of my new organization, National Independent Black Parent Association. That's exactly why we were created, to organize parents to bring about change in the school district. 7 committees. Special ed committee to fight against special ed fraud and abuse and to protect the special ed kids. School discipline to fight against unfair discipline practices against black children, especially the boys. Too many suspensions, too many expulsions, too many removals from class, too many referrals to discipline school. Then it will be a policy committee, policy to deal with the policies that negatively affect our kids. For example, right now, you're dealing with policy, food policy. So the policy committee would deal with that type of an issue. And then we would also have a finance committee to investigate how the money is being spent, the school budget, and then a social committee to support our struggling parents, social support, and then a homeschool committee to organize the parents who are homeschooling and want to homeschool. And then the last committee is parent advocacy, to train parents to accompany other parents into the school for these meetings. So those are the 7 mandatory core committees for each chapter. And our next training is in San Diego from Friday and Saturday, January 27th and 28th, from 9 until 6. So that's why we exist. And we had our first training in Baltimore in May, Houston in September, San Diego in January, and then next spring we will be in the Midwest, so probably Detroit, Chicago, and then we'll be back on the East Coast. But I really am encouraging people to sacrifice some of their Christmas and Kwanzaa money and come on out to San Diego and get this training, because a place like New York City, and I spend a lot of time in New York. We just had a sold-out event in Queens, and I'll be back in Brooklyn to celebrate the Earth Day of Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad on Thursday, January 12th in Brooklyn, Thursday, January 12th. So we need a lot of these chapters in the New York area. So for any parent listening on Facebook Live or on the phone, I really hope you guys decide to join me in San Diego. And you can register for that on my Eventbrite page, which is Prince of Pan-Africanism with a K. We spell Africa with a K. Prince of Pan-Africanism.eventbrite.com. Prince of Pan-Africanism.eventbrite.com. Now, the other thing I want to say to this too, and this is not to you specifically, good brother, but it bothers me when I hear black people constantly talk about fighting white folks. And we do have to fight white folks, don't get me wrong. But there's certain things we don't have to fight over because we're legally allowed to control them ourselves. So, for example, you have to fight over the criminal justice system because you're not allowed to control the criminal justice system. You have to fight over the political system because you're not able to control the presidency, okay, or the Congress. You have to fight that. You have to fight against police brutality because you're not allowed to dictate the police. But you don't have to fight against miseducation because you're allowed to build your own school. So when you have something that you are allowed to control yourself, then there's no need to fight over that. Right now, Black Philadelphia is spending $3 billion. Excuse me. Can y'all please mute your phone? Somebody got a speaker on. You got to mute that. You cannot have me on speaker and not have it muted. Please, thank you. Please mute your phones. So Black Philadelphia is spending $3 billion on Christmas. Black Detroit, $5 billion. Not million. This is billion with a B for Christmas. Black New York City, no less than $8 billion in New York for one day. This is how much money we spend for one day. The Philadelphia Black Christmas shopping budget is worth more than the gross national product of 1/3 of the countries in Africa. We spend more on Christmas than the gross national product of 1/3 of the countries in Africa. So for education, we got the Parent Association. That is a Band-Aid. It's a temporary remedy. The solution is independent schools for independent thinking African children. What must be done for African people must be done by African people.
Okay, brother. Thank you. Thank you for training in San Diego at your next, and this will be to open up a chapter in New York.
Yes,
correct?
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And my cell
That's
number,
really
if you need to
interesting.
text me, my cell number, if you need to text me for the flyer for the conference or for the flyer for the Brooklyn event honoring Dr. Khalid on January 12th, my cell number is 215-989-9858, 215-989-9858, 215-989-9858.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, brother.
No problem. I'm going to take one more question. Not only do I have the interview coming up, but I just got an alert on my iPad that I only have 10% power left. Okay, so the iPad gives me enough power for almost 3 hours. That's okay. So I'll take one more question. Who's going to have that last question for the
I
day?
have a question.
Yes, sister. Where are you calling from?
I'm in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm coming back to Las Vegas soon. I'm looking for a venue that can seat 400 people. If you have any ideas, please text me.
I can't wait. I actually saw you at you when you were here, and I was actually the sister that gave you the clear card.
Ah, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. How we doing, love?
I'm wonderful. I've been trying to reach you, and I'm sure that you're probably tired of me texting you. I will also ask you, could you add the time zone on your flyer?
Okay, can I add the time zone on which flyer, love?
For your weekly conference, or
Okay.
the flyer that you have, just so that we can all stay on one accord, please.
I got you.
I called last week because this is more of a question about what I should do with my child. I called last week because I have a 5-year-old son that is experiencing. He's in kindergarten. He actually turned 5 as of September 21st. So he barely missed the mark to be in school, but he begged to be in school. So I made it available. We're relocating from Atlanta, so the atmosphere is a lot different. But he's having behavior issues where he's throwing chairs at school. He's telling the teachers what he doesn't want to do, and I'm literally at school almost every day. Now, the past week before we went out of school, I felt like I exhausted all options. I had spoken to, had meetings with teachers. I've been consistent with my discipline. I speak to my child. I listen to you all the time, and I try to take your cues about, I listen to everything, how I talk to my child. But he has still seemed to struggle with school. He had a teacher that was Hispanic. He goes to a charter school that is predominantly black, and they teach black principles of being a black person. They celebrate Kwanzaa and those things. But I was just really struggling with what to do with my child. As of last week, he had a really good week, so I'm not sure if I'll need it when we go back to school. But I was really concerned about what I should do next.
Okay, and so the main issue give me that main issue you having with your son again.
Behavior at school. It's not when he's outside of school. His main issue was crying at school.
Crying at school. Why is he crying at school? In order to change behavior, we have to know the function of the behavior. What grade is he in?
He's in kindergarten.
He's in kindergarten. Okay, so that means something is unpleasant. We got to find out what's unpleasant. Is he crying because of home issues? Is he crying because of the way the teacher talks to him? Is he being bullied? We got to find out what's the root cause of that. Do you have any idea what that might be?
He originally started another class with a Hispanic woman, and he would tell me, and I'm pro-black to the day I die, and I've raised my child up as that. So he, with the Hispanic teacher, she always would tell me that she made him feel like he couldn't do anything. And in my interpretation of how our relationship is, I felt like she was breaking down his confidence. And I absolutely didn't let her do that. I didn't challenge her in front of him ever, but I always would ask her and be clear about what he's saying to me and what I expect from her. Eventually, we ended up changing his class because we all realized that it was a personality conflict. But with the teacher that he has now, he's in a completely different environment. I think what he may be struggling with now is that he has this bad rep, and he's gotten in trouble so much so the teacher says that no one wants to play with him, or really during playtime no one wants to play with him, and during group time no one wants to group with him in the new class. But he's not struggling academically, and I meant to mention as well, when the Hispanic lady tested my son, which I don't know what they're testing on. When she tested my son, she tested him as below average, which also tried to get him into this program. But with the new teacher, which is also a black woman, she's testing him as at average or above. But he's having these, breakdowns in class.
Okay.
Crying and,
what I think, let me jump in for the sake of time. What I think is social skills training. You might want to see, and I don't like them school counselors doing this, but you might want to see who can possibly do some social skills training with him. Also, I think that we can engineer him to meet some friends. Maybe the principal or the teacher might know of some students that are very good at inviting other children into this social group, very positive children. Maybe he can start being paired with them. But we may have to engineer this to get his feet wet, to make him more comfortable with making friends. But it sounds like a low self-esteem there, and he's a little too young for that. So I don't know where that's coming from, whether that's coming from the way we discipline him or some of the messages he's gotten. But there's a low self-esteem there. Is the father involved in his life?
Yes, and I was also going to say that my son comes from a healthy foundation. I have a large family. I'm married. He was being raised as the only child. I have a stepdaughter who lives in Georgia, which we recently moved away from. So I'm not sure if he's emotionally, upset about that either. Also.
Okay. Get him some counseling. He needs to see a counselor. Whether it's a counselor, psychologist, therapist, he needs to see a counselor to investigate this further to see what's going on. If you need a referral for that, shoot me a text, and I'll text you the Association of Black Psychologists number so you can get a referral. What city are you in again, Queen?
Las Vegas.
Las Vegas, that's right. So shoot me a text if you want, but let's get somebody to meet with him privately to see if he'll tell them something that he won't tell you.
Okay.
But the social skills too, and also find a social skills teacher. You might can even Google, see if you have anybody who does it privately, because I really don't want the school in your business. But we can investigate to see if we can find somebody who does social skills training privately out there in Vegas.
Okay, thank you.
And if we can't find that, only then will we allow the school to do it, because we really don't want them in your business.
Okay. Thank you very much. I also wanted to mention that with the school, I do believe that everyone is going to protect themselves, and I also understand that charter schools also work off of the public school platform. But I would like to say that I really feel good about my son's school in particular because I am covered with family. I have little cousins that go to school, teachers that are also my family members that go to school, and administrators.
Right.
For my family members. So I feel really good about the direction I could take my son in, but I can't get the behavior under control yet. But I really appreciate your feedback, and I will text you shortly.
No problem, sister. Thank you for that. And that's going to have to be my last question for the morning. I apologize for those I couldn't get to. Normally I stay on until we're done. The only reason why I can't stay on until we're done today is because I have the Detroit interview. So thanks for tuning in, and we will be back again on next Tuesday, and we will be live from Baltimore because I have Baltimore Monday for Kwanzaa, so I'll still be in Baltimore Tuesday morning. So we'll be live from Baltimore, and then the following Tuesday we'll be live from Atlanta because I'll probably still be in Atlanta looking at school properties following my January the 1st power lecture. So again, thanks to everybody. Have a blessed week, and we'll be back next week. Ashe.
For sure.
For those of you in Facebook land, Dr. Umar Johnson Kwanzaa Tour begins in Baltimore on Monday, December the 26th. And then we'll be in Jacksonville, Florida on Wednesday the 28th. And then we'll be in Detroit, Michigan on Friday the 30th. And then we will be in Atlanta, Georgia, okay, on Sunday, January the 1st, okay. And then we'll be in Los Angeles, California, Saturday, January the 7th. Durham, North Carolina, Tuesday, January the 17th. Durham, North Carolina, Tuesday, January the 17th. So we getting organized, family. We getting organized. National Independent Black Parent Association Training Conference, San Diego, California, at the World Beat Conference Center on Friday and Saturday, the 27th and the 28th, with a power lecture on Sunday, the 29th. Okay, so with that being said, peace and black power. Get your tickets, princeofpanafricanism.eventbrite.com. Send those resumes in, fdmgresumes@gmail.com. If you got to reach me, 844-4-DRUMAR, 844-4-DRUMAR. If you need flyers for any of the events, drumarjohnson.com. You can email drumarjohnson@yahoo.com. You can text area code 215-989-9858. 215-989-9858. Shout out to by here, Scotland School for Veterans Children Alumni. I see you by here. Shout out, give your sister a shout out. Tell her to get with me. Tell Jalima to get with me. All my Scotland School alumni, Millersville University alumni. It's all one love. Peace and black power. I'm out.